Regular city council meeting, let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we've got another pretty full house. That's good. Thank you for coming. We've got a couple additions to the agenda. We've got some additional bills for approval. I think we got to do these each, Shar. Do we need a motion to approve? Yeah. I just need a motion to approve the additions.
I move to approve the additions.
I would like to remove
Make a second first.
second.
Okay,
Whatever.
go ahead, Marcia.
I would like to remove D5. We've already acted on that. There's no point in discussing it again.
Oh, well, we're not, yeah, okay.
Dave, I'd like to add some discussion on the land purchase up there under mayor council.
Okay, wait a minute. We're just doing the additional bills for approval here. We've got a motion to approve, and we're looking for a second.
I did second.
You seconded it? Okay. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor. Next one of the additions is Alden Hardwick is going to give a little park update, I guess. Pardon me?
Public forum.
I think he's
No,
talking.
I'm just doing the additions to the agenda.
He's reading it.
Alden was an addition to the agenda, right? Yeah, so we need a motion to approve that.
Then add mine to that one. With
Okay, let's do Alden first. I need a motion to approve it.
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, now, Aaron, what did you want to do? Add a discussion?
Just add some discussion on the land purchase.
I'll
I see nothing in the agenda at all on it, so I want that added to it.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll just put that at the end of the mayor council members.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else?
Did we get that D5 removed?
No, that's yours. Go ahead, do that.
I want to make a motion to remove D5. We've already acted on that.
Yeah, we acted on that last month. Second? Nope. Second, anyone?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to which one we're removing.
The food shelf one.
Oh,
Yeah, we did it last month.
Second.
I second. Okay, any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
No.
No. Okay.
Can I get a, who was, aye?
Before.
Jackson
Four of you?
opposed it. Yeah, he opposed it.
It was just,
Jackson.
he was the only opposition.
Okay. You're opposed as
4 to 1.
well? 3 to 2.
3 to 2. Okay, well, if somebody wants to talk about it, we can sure do that.
Well, if we've done it for years, I think we need to do it.
Okay, let's bring that up on the 8th thing under the council.
Perfect.
Okay.
Or you could bring it up under old business.
Okay.
Next, we have public forum. Action may or may not be taken on any issue raised. If council requires more information or time for consideration, the issue will be placed on the next regular council meeting. Speaker must state their name, address. Anybody have anything? Cindy.
Cindy Mugato, Cross Lake Chamber of Commerce, and I just want to say thank you to Patrick and the Public Works Department who have been working above and beyond to move snow for the parade coming up on Saturday. Very, very much appreciated all the work you guys are doing. I had lunch with Mr. Lee and Mr. Lohmiller as well today, and they have a great plan in place for the activities on Saturday, and we're looking forward to it. There's a crazy forecast coming up in the next week, and whatever it is, we'll deal with it, and it'll be great. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Does anybody else have anything? Come on up.
Hello.
My name's Kate Chise, and our address is 14072 Big Pine Trail. This is my husband, Ryan Chise.
I'm Ryan Chise, yep.
We just wanted to discuss a few things on the short-term rental ordinance that it looks like there's a draft out so far.
A draft out for it, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have something you want to say just in public forum? The short-term rentals is coming up in the mayor's report, and then we'll open it up
we
for
can
that.
certainly wait until then.
Okay, yeah, it'll be coming up shortly.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Not seeing anybody, we'll close public forum. Next, the mayor's and the council members report, and Alden, you're first up.
Do we do consent agenda?
Huh?
We do the consent agenda?
Oh,
Consent.
sorry.
Calendar?
Just 1 sec, it'll just take a second. The consent calendar, has everybody had a chance to go through that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to pull C6 and C7. I just have a couple of questions. It'll go fast, so.
Other than that, a motion to approve?
So move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You want to, well, let's just wait and do that under the council. Let's address them. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Linda Paff, and I'm here on behalf of the PAL Foundation. And for those who might not know what that is, it stands for Park and Library Foundation. We provide funding for capitalized improvements for the parks, recreation areas, and the library in Cross Lake. So we're excited to be moving forward with the new park in Cross Lake. It's called the Pine River Overlook Park. It's on the river, and it's located between the Public Works, behind the Public Works facilities off Riverwood Lane and just north of the American Legion. So it's going to offer kayak, canoeing, and tubing opportunities with a special dock to safely launch canoes and kayaks. And as any kayakers and canoers know, that's the hardest part of canoeing and kayaking, is getting into the canoe or kayak. So these special docks will aid in that. Other features of the parks for individuals or families would be fishing, bird watching, picnicking. There'll be picnic tables, a portable sheltered bathroom, green space, a gravel parking lot, and it'll just be a nice place for relaxing in a quiet space. So Alden's going to talk about funding opportunities for individuals, businesses, and memorials.
Thank you, Linda.
I'd kind of like to update you where we are with our fundraising project and where we are with the park, the new park we have planned. Lots of interest. Many people have told us this is just a really unique spot. Those that can find it, many can't find it. And Linda helped you explain where it is. I kind of always tell people you go by the dentist office, you turn east, you turn left if you're going south, and then go about 4 blocks. The road ends, you turn to your right, and you're right in the municipal area there. And it's the new land that the council bought with tax forfeiture. And it's just a really pretty place. You can see some of the pictures here that TJ is going to show. Linda discussed about the kayaking. And for many of us, especially some of us that are elder, getting into a kayak is not easy. And that may be the hardest part of the trip. And this holds the kayak steady. You walk to the end of the dock, you get in the kayak, and then you release the kayak and you get a start. And it's a beautiful place right there because it's about 2 to 3 feet of water. And so if something would happen, you're not going to drown. But it is a lot easier.
Can you explain how to get out of the kayak after we're done?
I think that'll be a problem, yes. The location awareness is a problem. People have uncertainty about where this can be. Some have even suggested to us that, why are you building something in Pine River? No, we want it clear. This is here in Cross Lake. It's on the Pine River, and that's why the name is there. It's really convenient to get to. It's right in Cross Lake. And so now we're taking advantage of this unique opportunity of a river flowing through the town. And so it'll just be a nice area to launch and go on your, if it's a tubing, if it's a canoe, if it's the kayak. And it'll be a nice place just to rest, as Linda talked about.
Picnic tables,
Yes.
you know, yeah.
It's just going to be nice. The dock is on order. We placed an order because we're worried we wouldn't be able to get a dock. And because of the, shortage of many things right now. And he has assured us that if we made a down payment, and we had enough money raised, so we made the down payment. So the dock is on order. Hopefully they'll come early this spring, and so we can enjoy the facilities this summer. The donations will be honored with your name on a bronze plaque. And TJ is showing that in this picture here on the right side. That's the one we're using at the playground. We'll follow the same format. And if you contribute $500, then your name will be on the plaque. And that's important. It's a contribution made for the long-term future. And then people will recognize that people made this happen with their donations. Each gift of $500, as I mentioned, we have about $5,500 now. And that's about 20%. We're hoping as more people come back and more people become aware of it, they will get more donations. We've had donations from individuals, from a lot of the businesses, from a foundation, and one unique thing, a memorial was made for this person to be put on a sign. And it's a nice way of honoring that person and the people that supported this. I think this will be a very popular addition to Cross Lake. Many people, maybe younger than we normally get coming to Cross Lake, will come to kayak. And this is just a really nice place to start. And very small funding. It's something we can handle as a community, I think, easily. And so I hope once people become more aware of it, they'll consider contributing towards it. And that's what kind of our goal is to highlight it more. What we're planning to do, what this will be, kind of thinking about what it will do for people coming to our town. And I think it'll be a big awareness for coming to town. People like to kayak, but it's harder on the lake. And the river is really quite a nice place. It's unique. Of course it's shallow, but kayaks use shallow water. So I think it'll be a nice addition. Linda talked about new people coming to town, something new and awareness that will help further transients, visitors, community people to take an active role in this park. TJ put this on Facebook, and he had over 6,000, wasn't it?
6,000 views, yeah.
So people are aware of it. We still need the money to make it happen, but I think it'll be a good addition for us. And ask the community now for their help to make this happen. The $500 gets you on the plaque, but any gift is helpful for us. So wanted to update the community. We're on our way. We need more funding, but I think we'll be successful with it because we saw what happened last time on the park with the playground. So that's kind of an update to the council.
Paul and Nancy, did you both hear that loud and clear? Our editors for the paper. Just put a little plug in there for you.
We'll have to do a little job at it.
Alden, I have a couple questions for you. Number one, are you considering creating some signage for the park?
Yeah, why don't you talk about it, TJ?
I'll be working with Crow Wing County since it is a CASA 3 road for the entrance to our park. We're going to work with them to see if we can get some signage there that directs people saying Pine River Overlook Park, turn right or turn left, and then at the end of the road to turn right. So we're kind of working on it, working on a plan, and then also we're developing some sort of signage at the dock to tell people you can either go this far on the river to exit or go your next stop, and then it gives them kind of a gist of how long it would take them to go that stretch and then how long it would be on the river stretch. So yeah, it's in the works.
Good question, Sandy.
Are you considering having some kind of a fundraising event or?
Yes, we are. We've got plans to have a dinner kind of headed up by the kayaking clubs that are here, and so that it's more publicity for us and fundraising in itself.
Yeah. Great.
So, good.
How many parking spots are down there?
TJ, do we all
We haven't really had a parking area there yet. We're going to develop one. We'll just kind of play it by ear. We'll start with a certain amount, and if we have to add more Class 5 and more parking stops, we'll kind of monitor that.
You could need a few spaces down there. That'll be busy. Yeah.
And we'll dress up, there's a garage down there that needs some dressing up, and so we count on volunteers to help us with that, and it's new paint and new trim, make it
Awesome.
look attractive.
Good job.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very good job. Thank you again for what you do. Okay, next, short-term rentals. Who wants to start with that?
Want to open it up?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to open, we should have some discussion here before we open the public.
I think we need some.
We have been working on the short-term rental ordinance for quite some time. There is a need for something to happen in town. Chip and Peter have both been working on an ordinance. They've got it in form here. There's a couple things I would like to do to it. I believe very strongly that we should have an ID at the driveway on the fire number stating that it is a rental and a number to identify the people that are doing it. I'd like to have a little discussion on that point.
I think it would be an acceptable thing to do, Dave. I think it would help identify it, it'd help the renters coming in find it, know they're at the right place. I can see positives to it.
Yeah, and it just would let them know that this is one, you know?
We wouldn't tack the homeowner's phone number on there, would we, like previously discussed? I don't think we should do that necessarily.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a
But
phone number up
No,
there.
but I just remember that was discussed.
Have the license number, I mean, their
Right,
license number.
right.
But so just play it out a little bit. If there's an issue at 8 o'clock on night on Friday, how do they go from the number to getting a contact info? Is there going to be a yard sign displaying the contact info? Or do they have to go up and knock on the door and go inside the door and read it on the board? I mean, because I think that's what's proposed. I think it should be right there.
The staff meeting we had, we did talk about it. The chief's preference, I think, after talking about it some, was, I don't think we talked about having it identified somehow by city staff, that the license number, that's fine, but we talked about having a phone number, and the chief thought it would be better policy, as part of the license application, he's gonna know, or the city's gonna know, contact info for the management company or whoever's in charge.
Yeah.
And they'll know the neighbors or whoever it is would have to call the chief, and he would know who to get a hold of. That's, I think, am I saying that in the way that we talked about?
Let's not have him call the chief.
I was say, so now you're the middleman?
Person on duty, how's that?
There, thank you.
We can certainly do that. We can also require that we can do that, or we can require the homeowner or the property management group to notify the neighbors of who to call, give them information sheet, something to that effect.
It shouldn't be a hopeless, helpless thing trying to figure out who to call. Because when there's a
Right.
problem, it's right now.
Yep,
Yeah,
but some
so-
matters might not be a police matter, and there's no reason for us to get involved.
That's where the contact info,
Right.
the person.
Yep.
Hopefully they would take care of it and then stop there.
So I can see that we're not quite there yet. When do licenses have to be issued to rent?
Whenever
the
we
season-
decide, whenever.
So no one's going to be able to to rent their VRBO until we decide what we're going to do? What's that? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No, that's not.
We can't issue a license because we don't have an ordinance in place. The county says they're not going to do it, so we're in limbo. Where's the date? I mean,
Well, it's effective.
I don't think we're there yet.
It's effective whenever a council passes an ordinance and we publish it. Until then, you're right, we're in limbo.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they can't do it. It
No,
means
it's
that-
just there's no limbo, meaning There's no regulation. That's what I should say.
There's no licensing, because we're not going to license if we haven't got the ordinance in
Staff
place.
can't process licensing without an
Exactly.
ordinance, and the council has to pass the ordinance.
So if we can't get it all cleared up, shouldn't we be just going to the county and say, take care of the licensing this year, and we're working on an ordinance and how to enforce it and all the little nuances we want with it, that might be the direction that we should go, is have the county take care of it for a year and get our ducks in a row and get a good ordinance in place.
The county is not going to add any request we have on top of their ordinance. They're going to do what they're doing. That's all.
Exactly. But I'm saying we're not ready.
I don't think we're quite there yet myself. I don't get how we'd get this up and rolling before summer.
Well, I have a question. If we were to utilize the county for the coming year, does Cross Lake have the authority to still regulate? I mean, if there's an issue? I mean, do we have to depend on the county to follow through on complaints, or does Cross Lake have the option?
I can try to answer that, I think. We already have certain ordinances in place regarding noise or septic. I mean, there are certain things we regulate anyway. We can do that, but anything that's specific to short-term rentals in this ordinance, no, we can't regulate until we pass an ordinance.
So we've been talking about this for at least 3 years. The county took it over last year and did it, and I don't think there was a lot of people that were real satisfied with what they did. A week or so ago, we had the county up here to ask them what different they're going to do, and from what I heard, they're virtually not going to do anything different. They're going to do it the same way they have, so.
Is there anything wrong with us requiring a conditional use permit? That attorney that was here last meeting is saying you're allowing commercial use in a residential zone. So should we be using the CUP, the CUP?
We can.
We could.
But then Peter's going to want to, at least I would prefer, and Peter would prefer, I'm sure, some parameters in an ordinance. So again, we're passing an ordinance
Right.
again, talking about what we're going to require or look for in a CUP application.
Because if you require a CUP, that's got to go to a public hearing, and all the property owners within 350 feet or whatever it is now would get notified. They could come, they could say what kind of conditions they want on the conditional use permit, and then we're allowing a conditional use permit for commercial use in a residential zone. I see in here they want to do it the opposite, but to me, it makes more sense to get a conditional use permit if you're going to purchase a home to rent out. That's a commercial business, and it should have a conditional use permit tied to it.
And that's fine. Isn't that going to be?
But wouldn't you advise that in a zoning district to, is there any recourse for neighbors to say, okay, that's a commercial use, you're in a residential zone, you can't do that?
I can try to explain that. First of all, in the redraft of the ordinance we have now, it does say the city is going to provide notice to landowners in this ordinance, like a CUP process, but just FYI. But in the CUP ordinance, we can create parameters and have it look a lot like this, but require a CUP, which is more of a, you're right, not administrative, but a full hearing process. But the law says as long as they meet the parameters of a CUP, meaning like we have in this ordinance, if their septic's compliant, if whatever our list is, we can't say no. They're going to get a CUP. We can let the neighbors complain, but it isn't going to accomplish anything.
But you can put conditions on it.
Well, of course you can, but you can't deny it.
No. And I guess you're probably not going to deny the licenses either for VRBOs just across the counter either. I think that
Well, no, I didn't say that very well. The public policy question, and it definitely is a question, I'm not trying to assert something here. It might be if we have 1,300 of these, is that what I heard somebody say last council meeting? A lot anyway. There's a lot of them. Let's just leave it at that. Do we want to take on that staff? It's a lot of work for Peter and his staff to do a CUP hearing. Do we want, I think I heard 1,300, but it doesn't matter. More than 500, I think it was. do we want 500 public hearings? There's a cost to all that, an administrative cost. And again, it maybe doesn't accomplish much because they're going to get a CUP. It's just, yes, Peter can, when I say Peter, P and Z can require conditions, but since they're very cookie cutter, they're all going to be fairly similar. We could create a short-term ordinance like this, make it administrative, and avoid 700 public hearings.
But you're not, if you just go with the licensing, you're not contacting property owners.
Yeah, I said it earlier. Yes, we are.
We are.
Yes.
You're not really contacting as much as notifying.
No, this
Well,
says, and I can
notifying
change it, but right now
contacts.
it's, we put it, the staff
You
talked
you-
about that,
you
and
let
the
'em
council
know.
can say it, but right now it says, if the city approves the short-term license, the city shall provide written notice to the adjacent properties.
Yeah, so you're
So all the
notifying.
neighbors are gonna know what happened.
Yeah.
Marcia, on a CUP, keep in mind, once you put it in place, it goes with the property. So if I have a piece of property and I'm renting it and I've complied with all the stuff, and I've got my CUP, I sell my house, that goes with it. Where doing it the other way, it doesn't, then the new owner has to reapply, start from square one.
But they would have to still get a license.
Yeah.
They can get a conditional use permit, and that will entitle them to go in to get a license for VRBO.
No, the conditional use permit would move with the property.
I realize that, but
Okay.
won't they still have to license for VRBO?
Still have to do licensing,
Yeah.
but it's, the CUP, I don't see doing, maybe help some, but I don't see it being a huge help.
Well, I think the ordinance looks really good, but there are no specific numbers involved. What's going to be the cost of the licensing? What are the amounts of the fines if they violate the
I
ordinance?
think we could fill that in real easy.
Okay.
That's up to us, and we can fill that in.
Well, we can do that by
And I can speak to that a little
resolution.
bit more. I did put a little bit in here. So in section F, we talked about the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 offense penalties. But then, every year, SHAR, after you guys do it, but SHAR updates the fee and licensing schedule. We have a license schedule for all kinds of things we do in the city. Anything about this ordinance, if we pass it, would all get up in that annual list of fees, that there's lots of them. It would be on that. Because if we put it in the ordinance, now we go to amend the ordinance every time we want to change the amount.
Yeah.
If we reference the fee schedule, we can update that every few years, and it's done once a year.
The only thing I see in here that you don't have, as far as I'm concerned, is identification at the curb. And the
That takes
licensing.
10 seconds to put in there
Yeah,
if you
no,
want us to.
I
but
know, but I mean, I think, and whatever this isn't gonna be the end of the story here. This is gonna be a work in progress. I mean, it is.
No, I said this last meeting, I don't think the ordinance is far off from other examples, but whatever we pass, and we can spend 3 more years looking at it, whatever you pass, I would recommend you look at this after the first season and make changes. Because no matter what we do,
Right.
we're gonna have to change it.
Yeah.
Brad, one question I have with it is, would it be permissible? You know where I live, back in there.
Of course.
And that's an association, it's individual lots, property's individually owned. But could small lots, like back in there, be laid out and said, no, in the ordinance, no rental allowed back in developments with small lots, small lot developments? I'm not sure how to word it.
I'll try to answer it a couple ways. One, I represent, or not just me, but I've worked with many associations in the area.
Yeah.
Many of them in the last 5, 10 years have updated their covenants to talk about either allowing VRBOs or not allowing them, or regulating them in some way. Just so you all know, that's independent of the city. That's a private association, can make their own rules, but that only applies to developments like Old Log Landing, where you're in an association with covenants. Much of, there's lots of cross-like is in those kinds of developments, but much of them are not. So the ordinance would only apply to areas where there are no covenants for associations, or where associations where they're silent on whether you can do VRBOs. Then the ordinance would apply. But if we pass this ordinance and create all these rules about VRBOs, if Old Log Landing passes a covenant saying you can't do them, period, you can't do them. That trumps what the city's trying to do.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, I guess my only concern is, do we have enough time to inspect all of the potential, short-term rentals? And do we have enough, do we have someone available who's going to, someone to enforce it? I mean, have we followed, do we have enough information pulled together
That's all
to do this in a timely manner?
That's what I'm worried about. Well, I'd rather be going into it with, some knowledge instead of
Oh, then we're never
guns
gonna do-
a-blazing.
We're never going to do anything.
Well, I just don't think Chip's going to be able to inspect 150 homes that quick before summer and before getting these VRBOs ready to roll if we want to do this ordinance. I don't see that being possible.
Chip, do you want to speak to that?
No?
Well,
That would be an answer right there.
I can try to address that a little bit. I don't think anyone at City Hall can tell you how easy it's going to be, other than it's going to be a lot of work. I'm just trying to think it through. It'd be better if we did it. Obviously, people want to VRBO things come summer. Not many people want to do it in the dead of winter. But if part of our ordinance talks about a septic compliance, you can't do that in the wintertime anyway. So if we did say, let's do it January, I'm not sure that's very helpful, because they might have to wait until April or May to do their septic compliance, and we're back to the same time of year again. So I don't think there's a great time of year. I think whenever you do it, it's going to be a pain in the butt. But I don't know how else you start it other than just start it, and there might be a backlog and people aren't going to get licenses when they want them, but that's going to be true whatever month you start this. It might be a little bit better in a different time of year, but
Yeah, and we could say that this ordinance is going to affect May 1st and get into the middle of April, realize there's no way we can handle it, we'll have to extend it. But if we tell them it's going to start August 31st, they're not going to apply until the 20th of August anyway. I mean, they're just,
we're not going to apply this year.
we give them 6 months or 6 days, it's.
well, that is a good point. We can pass it now, publish it now, and say you've got until, pick a month. And until then, you can do whatever you want, because there's no regulation. So we didn't talk to, you can delay it and say it's not effective until July 1st or August 1st, which would help. But I agree with the mayor, people tend to procrastinate and might not get to this until, thinking they can just do 2 weeks before they want to start it, and it's not going to happen that fast. But that might help a little bit.
We're not going to get the inspections done by May 1st. I think we could put this in place, but we're not going to get the inspections done. We don't even have an avenue of how we're going to do it. And April's coming up, so I'm just thinking that if we just allow the county until we get things going on this ordinance and get things established, I think we should just let the county take care of it this year.
So to answer your question, how about having them sign up, register, license, and then have to be inspected within 6 months to a year?
Yeah.
That's another idea.
Because when they register license, it's just like going to the county.
Right.
And then all the other life safety things can happen over a year.
And the inspection is up to us, not them,
Correct.
when we can get there.
Well, it's a couple steps. Assuming you pass it as is, our inspection is clearly requires Chip or somebody from the city hall to go over there, but they also need to do their own septic compliance. We don't do that. They have to provide that to the city, and that's going to take longer than, well, I'm guessing when I say this, but that might be more of a backlog than city staff. So there's at least 2 inspections we're talking
The
about.
first round, we're going to have to be flexible with it, We don't want to put anybody out of business.
Right.
No, everybody's got,
Yeah.
gentlemen
But I
back there
think Chip
mentioned they already
made
have
it
something scheduled, so
Yeah.
we're not going to put anybody
Yeah.
behind, just.
I think Chip's
We'll do the
idea is better than
inspections.
one I had, because if we say it's not effective until August 1st, people procrastinate. Here, if we
Yeah.
say they got to register to do it, but give them time to comply, at least we got them on our books, and that makes more sense. I hadn't thought of that.
One thing also, if you're licensed through the county, you've already had your system inspected. That's one of the requirements of the county.
Steve Bredesen.
Bredesen, Steve?
This is Steve Bredesen.
So,
I'm on Anchor Road.
so the county inspects right now?
Yes, you have to provide them your inspection, like I had a private company inspect it, and I had to send that information or that document to the county to satisfy them to have a county license.
Well, why don't we just put that in place, that they show us the septic system has been inspected and that the home has been inspected, and provide that for the licensing, and we don't have to even get involved in that?
Well, the ordinance has that. The
Yeah,
ordinance
that's-
has the septic compliance, it's already in here.
I know.
But then
I'm saying the home.
the home, the life safety things that Chip was talking about, he would have to speak to who could do that if it's not city staff. I don't know the answer to that.
I assume that this Steve Bredson has got a VRBO and he's submitted a home inspection?
Good assumption.
County doesn't require that.
County does not do home inspections.
Yeah.
That's what he just said.
The county doesn't do life safety, or they don't do any inspection, they just make sure the septic is good to go.
Septic compliance.
So again, make sure we're on the same page, the septic compliance, I think we all know what that is, because you need to do them when you sell a house. The life safety things that Chip's talking about is, if we want to make sure, if they want to market their property for 6 people, they have to have bedrooms that have proper egress windows and so on to make it safe. That's the part that I don't believe, he's saying the county does not regulate, and the city, at least, when I say the city, in the end, that's you guys, no one else. But staff's thinking that's good wisdom. If we're gonna regulate this, we should have someone from City Hall going out there and making sure it's suitable for the occupancy they want to have it for. So there's 2 inspections. One, a private person does for the septic, and they got to give it to the city. The other one is somebody, we're expecting it to be city staff, is going on site to make sure that it does all the things we talk about in this ordinance. But the largest parking, egress windows, fire alarms, smoke alarms, that kind of stuff are things we're looking for when we go to do that on-site inspection.
Well, I think we should have a private contractor go out and do those inspections rather than the city. Then they pay for it, and they provide it to the city for licensing.
If you create the rules, it doesn't have to be city
Okay.
staff.
That would
But
be
we
my-
need to have rules so the inspector knows what to look for.
Yeah. I didn't realize that this had been a 3-year process, that this has been going on like this, and it seems like whether they go through the county or they go through us, we're going to have short-term rentals in our community, and unless we decide we're not going to at all.
That's we outlaw.
Right, and I think it would behoove our community to be able to reap the revenue from the licensures, and, you know, no matter when we do it, there's going to be a learning curve, there's going to be glitches, there's going to be things we're going to have to adjust, but at this point, it almost seems like we just need to move forward. I like the ordinance, I think it's really good, and
Is that a motion?
Before we get to a motion, I heard one comment about a placard. We're not going to have a phone number, it's just going to have the license number on there. Is there a consensus from the council that should be changed?
I move that we have a placard with the license number on it. Yeah.
But after that, I want to make sure not all of you have spoken. Is there any other changes other than maybe we're
I would
jumping
like
into
to
this?
see some contact info in plain sight, someplace.
No.
I also have several questions on what I saw posted here.
Identify yourself, please.
I am Steve Bredesen.
All right, thank you. Address, actually, do you want the address or does it matter?
Sure. 12554 Anchor Point Road. And I'm
Okay.
kind of just catching up here. I have talked to the mayor last fall about things, but anyway, if we're gonna have a Cross Lake ordinance, do we still have to pay for a county license?
No.
Okay. And then I read in there, and I don't know if I read it correctly, but it says 10 PM quiet time? I mean,
I think that's our city ordinance now, right? Yep.
so you're telling me that this coming up weekend, everybody has got to be inside, can't be outside their place by 10 PM and has to be quiet?
Doesn't say you have to.
It's the way it's always been, Steve, 10 till 7. I think as long as people are respectful, people usually don't complain too much about it. It's when the respect is gone, that's where the problems are, and that's why we're here.
And then my main question is, like you have in there, you get 3 strikes and you're gonna put us out of business, so I'm wondering who validates these complaints?
Well, that's something that we have got to establish. That's one of
Okay.
our challenges.
I mean, if you want any help with this, I've rented for a while here. I've got a lot of experience with it. I know who good renters and bad renters are. If you want help with that, I'm more than willing to help. And also, coming down on just the owners, these bad renters are just gonna go to the next house. We need to have a way to track who are good renters and who aren't. And, I also feel like if, once these renters stay, if you're able to grade them so that everybody that rents out can look and see, is this guy problems or is this guy not problems?
I would imagine that a good VRBO owner would do that, track them and rent them to again if they're good. The city is
Right.
certainly not going to do that.
And I do that, but you're talking one person. This needs to be tracked at if you're gonna do it for the whole city, to me, it needs to be tracked for the city.
Well,
And you're
Steve,
gonna have a good-
renters, I mean, people who rent, they get graded, they get reviewed just as the people who are renting out the places do. So, I mean, it's up to the individual who's, the owner to look at the reviews of the person who wants to rent and determine whether they're, a good bet or not. So, I
Your
don't know.
own reviews, to me, that's the hard thing right now is renters, they come, we don't know who are the good ones and who are the bad ones coming in. I mean, we can do as much research as we
Well,
want.
I would get
but if
about a
you-
$5,000 deposit check from them if there's any question about it, because chances are you're going to probably get fined that by the city if they are bad ones. So that's a responsibility of the renter, the rental agency, We're not
I'm
going to
just
take that burden on here.
Well, if you want help with it, I would do it. I'm just trying to suggest something that would fix the problem, because right now, these people will rent, cause problems in the neighborhood, and then, so now I flag them not to rent them again, but they just go to the next renter down the street and cause problems the next year or the next time.
Okay, Steve, we're not going to answer all the questions here, I don't think. But
All right.
be a part of it, absolutely.
I would love to help out with stuff, so anywhere that you need help with.
All right,
On this.
now, Mr. Linder.
Yes.
We're not going to hear the same story again, are we? Okay, good.
Mark Linder, 16543 Pineler Drive. I 100% support everything you're doing. I respect all of this. I just have, the concern I had last time is you're not talking about the one next to me that is not pulling a license, and they rent 100% of the time. They don't live there at all. So what are we going to do in those situations where they don't pull the license, they don't have a compliance?
There's a fine structure here for them, and they will get fined
So,
each time, and it graduates each time.
and we just have to report them that they're renting
Yeah,
and that their septic's out of compliance.
yeah. I mean, that's the discovery, and that's the challenge that the city is going to have by policing that, and it's going to be a challenge.
But you've had no success with the county regulating that, so at least if it's local, hopefully we'll
We
have.
can get success.
Yeah,
All right, I just want to make sure there's something, I didn't know there was something in it. if
yeah.
they
No,
didn't have a
there's
license.
things in about all that.
All right, thank you.
We'll let this gal go first. And then I'll do it.
Am I up?
Yep.
Okay. If we're going to move forward with passing this ordinance, there's just a couple of things that we wanted to address. Number one is just the maximum occupancy. I sent out a letter today. Probably too late.
I apologize to you, but I'm going to stop you because this is going to go till midnight if we do all this. And again, if you're not causing trouble, nobody's going to give you trouble.
But I think the occupancy thing is it puts you in a box in terms of regulation
Well,
about this.
it
And I think-
does.
I think maybe looking at a tiered system instead of a blanket system, because you could have a 3-bedroom house that's 1,000 square foot, and you could have a 3-bedroom house that's a 2,000 square foot house. And is it safe to have 12 people in a 1,000 square foot house versus a 2,000 square foot?
As far as I'm concerned, if you're not causing trouble, you're not going to get any trouble.
But if we have a
But we have to
2,000
advertise.
square foot house that's split level with 2 living rooms and plenty of space, and we're capped at 6 people, that's really detrimental to us as far as our booking abilities and how we can, advertise that house. We're marketing to families. The average family is 4 in America. Easily, we can fit 2 families of 4 in our cabin. So if we're capped at where we can only advertise for 6, anybody who's looking for 8, we're not going to show up on their searches at all. And it's going to be really detrimental to us as our livelihood. And
It does make sense. Unfortunately, it's detrimental to the people who have got 12 people there, and they should, I mean, you just got to draw a line in the sand someplace when you do this. And it's maybe
But you
tough.
could base it off square footage.
I don't believe the people capacity includes children.
And that was another point I was going to bring, because 12 is the age of choice. If so, I would suggest making it 18 and under, because
No.
as an 18, you're an adult, and under is a child. So I think the separation between 12 and 13, that again, I think you're just acing out a lot of things. And I think it's fair and consistent to associate an 18-year-old as an adult and a 17 as a minor. Just a suggestion. But I appreciate,
Yeah.
I've been a licensed nursing home administrator for 19 years, very highly regulated industry. I think it's very safe and good steps to take these precautions, life safety, all of those things. But I think logistically, like you said, I think there's a lot of things that you will discover through the process, and you have to be an organic process. But I would say up front, there's just a couple items within there, the occupancy and the age. Because then again, I could have 30 12-year-olds in my house.
Unfortunately, there's an exception to every rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure we're not violating rules,
Yeah.
basically. Like, we want to, we're people who are reasonable. We take very good care of our property. We're up here all the time. We vet all of the people that stay in our place, just to explain how that works, Airbnb and VRBO.
People like you could probably get away bending the rules a little bit,
Well, we don't want to bend the rules.
Well, I get
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
I get that, and I certainly don't want to encourage you to do so, so don't take me wrong.
So through the online travel agencies, we only accept verified renters. Verified renters have to have a government ID, a social security number, their email and their addresses are verified through all of.
Maybe
if you're not
there'll be
verified, you can't rent with us.
a reward system or something developed through it, but we got to try to get our arms around this thing right now. I apologize, I feel for your financial thing, but you bought a residence. You're depending on it as a business now, and that's where there's a
Partial
little
business.
separation.
We use it a lot.
I understand that, but your plea is that we need that rental income. And we need to protect the industry. We need to get our hands on it right now.
Yeah, we agree with all of those points.
So.
Yep.
But I think
Just wanna be on
I think that the short-term rental, the amount of money that it brings to your town is probably quite significant as well. So I don't think that, I think you're benefiting off it as well.
Everybody benefits from it, you're right. We're trying to figure out how to work with it. That's what we're doing here. So, I get it.
We appreciate your time. Thank you, City Council.
Okay, thanks.
Dave, how many more people want to come up and talk? Because we're going to end up here, like you said.
I know.
If we don't.
Quick if you can, only because this is going to go on till wee hours.
Rick Hultgren. I have a cabin on Cross Lake, 13068 East Shore Road. I want to thank the council. This is really difficult. You'll have a lot of loud voices in all the different factions, from neighbors to owners, the city and the business people. But it's needed. It's definitely needed. There's no way I would have been able to buy a cabin on Cross Lake without some rental help, and other people have talked about. I'm not going to go into that. That's part of the equation. I'm a hybrid. My family uses it, my friends use it, and I also do some rental. It's not 100% rental though here. In fact, the 3 big holiday weekends reserved for my family. And those are big revenue, those are big revenue areas.
Yep, okay.
So anyways, I want to thank you for doing this. I just have a couple little questions regarding the ordinances, and that would be the minimum standards in C. And I think we should try to define what the loud noise is. Because in my situation, I have a fire pit down by the lake, and I might have a couple families down there. They go into town, have dinner, have a nice dinner, they come back, it's 9:30, and they go down there and they fire it up, and they start talking, they start laughing. They're gonna make noise, and it's gonna probably be past 10 p.m., to be honest with you. So if there's a call from my neighbor regarding that, then is that a legit violation for me?
If the
To me,
call.
that's a hard
If
one.
you have a good rapport with your neighbors, and you tell them, if you ever have a problem, please call me, we're not going to know anything about that. And as long as those people at the fire pit are respectful of your neighbors, they're probably not going to have a problem. It's respect is what we're trying to get to the neighbors. And we can't do it with a circumstance for each individual thing. We got to figure out some kind of a blanket system here to do that on. But it all boils down to you and your company, are they respectful in the neighborhood? If they are, you're not going to have a problem.
I agree with that, Dave, and I have done that.
Yeah, yeah.
I've told my neighbor, one of my neighbors, call me if you have any issues, because I use a platform called Evolve. Has anybody heard of Evolve?
No.
They have a very strict contract that my renters have to sign. It's multiple pages. And in that contract are specific regulations for ordinances for my property, including noise, including no parties, and so on and so on. And if they violate that, I have the right to kick them out immediately, and they're not going to get a refund.
Good. I mean,
you guys
that's
should
what
know
you need
that.
to
You
do.
should know that, because that might solve some of your issues.
As
you know?
long as you are able to get a hold of, and you are able to respond at 10:30 at night when they're raising hell over there and they're driving the neighbors crazy, that's awesome. Get them out of there.
And I also, it's my deal, everyone's different, but I have a manager 5 minutes away.
Yeah, that's
so-
perfect. I mean,
But I still think the noise thing could be a little more defined.
get
I
into a good
apologize.
relationship with your
No.
neighbors.
Okay. Also, the timing in the calendar year of the violations. Can you be more specific on that? So when does the clock start? Is it for when you have the first violation? Is it calendar driven? And then when you go into year 2, do you go back to 0? Or does one of the violations go off, or does it just
How
keep
I
rolling up?
envision it is, a license is only good for a year. So it doesn't matter when you apply, it's good for a year. So if you apply May 1st, it's good until May 1st of the next year. And the violations would follow that license. You start over again with, I'm guessing when I say this, I haven't even read this all with that in mind, but.
It's not real clear in there, to be honest.
We can
Brad.
clarify that.
Brad,
As to
I
your
know
first
you.
question
I think
about noise,
you
just so you
did some
know.
LLC for me.
Just so you know about the noise question, it's not an infraction just because a neighbor calls and says it's noisy. Someone from City Hall or city staff has to verify the complaint for there to be any penalty. It's not just complaint driven, as to your first concern. But we will,
I
city
think
staff
you need a
will
little more
clarify the
clarity
year.
on your calendar and when it starts. I have really good information about septic, because I'm right in the middle of it, through the county. And this is how it works. The county gave me a license. We bought the property back in May of last year. And in order for me to get a license from the county, my septic had to be compliant to the county. And the county based it on so many adults per bedroom. They actually have four adults per bedroom. So
They've changed that to 3.
that's my understanding.
Yeah.
And so whatever it is, that was the rule. So they gave me a variance, and maybe that's what you might have to do here. It gave me a variance. They gave me a year to get the septic done, and I know why. Because I had to get my land surveyed on their timing.
Yeah, no, it's a
I
burden.
had to get the septic design on Wanabo's, timetable, and then I just signed up with my installer, and he's out like 3-4 months. So it could be a half a year, and they don't work in the winter, and then you got to get the electrician. So, I'll work with Peter or whatever, make sure I'm compliant.
The
and-
urgency of this thing is what's important, and until you're told that you can't rent until you get this done, you're not going to have any urgency with it. It's going to be on the back burner.
Yeah.
When you're told that you got to call your people and tell them they got to cancel, they can't come here.
That's right.
Then it's going to be extremely urgent to you. So again, if you're a good player, you're going to play by the rules, the city will work with you, however it is, we'll be tolerant,
Right.
as long as we see action. But if we see something getting thrown off to the side and not paid attention to, then we need to have some regulations here that we can
Oh, I'm all for that.
stick to.
I mean, I'm all for it. We followed and we're compliant with the
Yeah.
county.
That's all we want people to do, is just play by the rules.
Yeah,
That's
there's
it.
there's no issue, but understand the
Have we answered
timetable.
most of your questions?
What's that?
Have we answered most of your questions?
Yeah, I think
Because we
so.
have a couple other long items.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job.
Honestly,
and
your type of
I know
owner
you'll-
is not
I know you'll
the
get it right.
issue.
Thank you.
I'm afraid to ask, has anybody else got, oh, there is somebody else. No, come on. You don't know me enough to be that, I shouldn't be that way with you, should I?
Bruce and Robin Johnson. We live on Wolf Trail. And for about 6 years, we rented our place out. In the summer, we go stay with our son and daughter-in-law down near Mankato. We've done our best to follow all the rules. We're rule followers too. And we pay our Minnesota sales and use tax, and we pay WALA, and we did the county thing. So the county gave us the number of people that could stay for our septic, and that was all good. And obviously, our home rental benefits the whole community here. Most of our renters are three-generation families. They come back year after year. We know them, they know us. No complaints from the neighbors. In fact, our neighbors enjoy chatting with them. They see them year after year. We just feel a little concerned that we're going to get lumped in with some of the big corporations that live out of state, or get lumped in with people that are not good homeowners.
Unfortunately, you're going to get lumped in there.
Well, our concern is
Because we're going to have
that,
an ordinance that's a blanket. It's going to, everybody.
you know, and we don't mind following
Yeah.
the rules, but we're concerned that it might be to our detriment, that we're going to be overtaxed or overregulated. And
I think we're going to try to do the structuring so the penalties are the thing that are going to generate money for the city to run this business, is what it is. And the licensing fees are not going to put you out of business.
Is it a yearly
Yep,
fee?
every year.
So every year you'll pay
Yep.
the same fee?
And every couple years, you'll probably have to get your septic inspected. The septic is really important to us.
We do ours
You're right on
every
the
spring,
lakes.
so
Yeah.
We set fees once a year. We set fees once a year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you understand.
If it's $500, it's $500 a year.
Sure.
And if you're a good player, that's probably all you're going to have to pay.
Did I understand that the number of renters you can have is considered by the adults and not kids?
Kids, I believe kids are overlooked. I mean, they're,
We can change it. The current draft says under 12 does not count.
yeah, under 12, yeah. And I
Which
don't
would
think
be-
18 is a kid.
It's whatever the council decides.
Right. I mean,
it would be helpful to us, as I said, we get three-generation families, so.
yeah.
Grandpa and the kids and the grandkids, and so it's a big.
So as it stands, right now, what we're looking at is under 12 does not count for the head count. Yeah.
Could that be raised to 16? Because nobody's going to come and rent.
Do
when
you
you're
hear
16.
what's going on here with everybody that comes up here?
Well-
If we adjusted and adapted for everybody that came up with their, and then
understand.
in 2 years, it's going to be 18 because the 16-year-olds are going to be 18.
I understand that, but if you do it at 12, there's nobody coming 13 years old that's going to come in and rent.
No,
But honestly, if it's a 13-year-old, what neighbors are going to say, can I see your ID, how old are you? I mean, it's
Again.
not going to, we're not the Gestapo here. I mean, it's, you know, it's.
we're not putting cameras up and setting traps for you. We're just trying to get respect in the neighborhoods.
Okay.
That's all we're looking for.
But as people that are trying to follow the rules, if
Right.
we say there's room for 15 in our place, that's what our septic system is graded for, but now we can't. So that means we could have 15 adults and 30 kids?
Well,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
you know, and then you're going to cause us to get back up here and make another motion and adjust the ordinance so that we can limit the number of 12-year-olds. And now we're trying to leave it open, you know, I mean, but that's exactly the games that we play is, you know, you just figure you need to know the rules and then you figure out how to beat them.
Sure,
So,
sure.
yeah,
Okay, thanks.
yep, you bet.
What were you
I
asking?
thought you said you had something.
So are we
come on up.
inspecting annually on licenses or just the initial
No,
license?
No, I think
And-
it'd be every 3 years maybe or something. Or,
Well, but see, this is really loose, I'm sorry.
There
But if
was talk
there
at
probably
the
is.
last meeting about changing it to every year, the inspection.
the city go out and inspect the property?
Oh, I'm sorry, the septic compliance
No.
every year.
Right-
I'm talking
right
about
now, the
inspection
draft-
of the property.
The draft is, you can change it, but the draft says the license comes every year. So every year, you got to reapply. That doesn't mean city staff are gonna go to the house to make sure you got egress windows, because if they did that last year,
Yeah.
so there's some discretion there. But when it comes to the septic compliance inspections are good for 3 years. But then you gotta pump it every year. So if you got a septic compliance and it's been done in the last 3 years, you just show it to us and it's good. But you gotta pump every year, because
Every year.
every year you pump,
Okay.
but that's not a very expensive endeavor.
No, it's $200. No, and that, yeah.
But we should discuss whether it's the initial application there's an inspection for. I'm not talking septic now, I'm talking home. And then renewals won't require an inspection because they've passed it.
Valid point.
The
They've
initial
passed it. We shouldn't have staff going up.
inspection.
Well,
But the
again,
renewal of the licensing does not require.
the fee, the city staff have the discretion if somebody wants to say, I've got a bigger house now, I want to go to 8 people, not
Then it
6.
changes,
The city
yeah.
staff is going to go out there and look again. But if we did it last year, that, we don't need to change the ordinance. They're not going to go, we'll still rubber stamp it because they inspected it last year.
Yeah,
So
but I
it's
don't
not
think
the
that's what our ordinance says upon application. There's going to be an inspection. I think we need to clear that up, that it would be initial application and a renewal on the same kind of
We
application.
can
It
add a
should-
parenthetical, the city can waive that if they've already done it in recent memory.
But we need to have that in the ordinance saying,
We can add that.
Okay, Bob?
This is just to address your concern, sitting in the back there, Bob Fry, White Pine Trail. To have contacts, if you had the license on the address post in front of the property, that license could be opened up to a Cross Lake webpage where the license would be associated with a contact person. And the only way that information would be transmitted out is if they registered or logged in. Be a simple thing. They could do it by phone. They could do it by computer. They could have easy, simple, quick access if you open up another
Yeah.
page on your.
I like it.
Yep,
Good idea.
so they can find it.
You want me to read the one on the screen, TJ?
Here, one quickie here, go ahead.
Super quick.
My name's David Leland. I'm with Woodswater Vacation Homes. We manage properties in the Cross Lake area, just various addresses. I just had a clarification. Was the revised ordinance, is it currently, as what you guys are reading, is it currently on the website? Or is it just the ordinance from when it was talked about last month?
Is this on the web?
This whole entire packet is on the website.
Okay, perfect. And then the last point I was going to make is that I think that there are some things from in my experience, from the county ordinance that could be adopted into your ordinance that actually do work. For example, like the website where you can file a complaint. If you have the property address, you can pretty easily go on the county website and find the contact person, as opposed to trying to reinvent the wheel on some of the stuff. There are some things in the county ordinance that are pretty simple. They're not, overly regulatory that do work. And so maybe my suggestion would be to take those things that work, and then there'd be less work, and then change the things that you guys would like to change.
Excuse me, can I get your name and address, please?
David Lidl, and my address is 1554 44th Street Southwest.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right. Megan's Mac says, how will the city distinguish short-term rental violations from owner violations at a property? For example, what if the owner accidentally leaves trash bins in view of the street while they are using the property and it's not being rented? Will that still count as a short-term rental violation even though it had nothing to do with the short-term rental? And also, what led to the decision to allow children under 12 to not count toward the occupancy limit? Shouldn't it be higher, at least 16 or 18? How is a 13-year-old strain on a septic system much different than an 11-year-old?
Thank you, Megan. All right, who's going to make the motion that we approve this and we get our staff and our city attorney to work the bugs out of it?
Don't we need to find somebody who's going to enforce?
I will make that motion that we approve this ordinance.
but you can't approve an ordinance and then direct the staff to make changes or the attorney. I think we should just put it on the agenda for next month.
We move that we approve it based on the changes that we've already.
Yeah, I would do that.
I think we need it in front of us and at the next meeting.
I'm going to still make the motion that we approve this ordinances with the changes that we have asked staff to make.
Who's gonna do the inspections?
Let me,
gotta figure this stuff out.
clarify.
But wouldn't you wanna verify it now?
No,
Figure it
well-
out now?
Let me clarify a couple things on the motion that has not been seconded or voted on, but just to clarify, the two things that I have written down, so I want to make sure we're all on the same page. We want to clarify that if the city has already done an physical inspection for health safety, the second year they apply, the city staff has discretion not to go on site.
I don't think discretion, I think they just don't need to.
I'll put some wording in there. And then secondly, we want to have, I'm not clear whether it's both or one, not the other, but some sort of sign on the property or maybe a website that accomplishes the same idea of the public being able to know how to contact or make complaints about a property rather than having to go through the police department.
I think both, to have the license.
I think there should be a license number, and it should be displayed right under the fire number.
And as to who does the inspections, that won't be in the ordinance. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have a game plan, but that won't change our ordinance draft. But those are the only two things that we're changing right now that I've heard, right? Okay. Pass, by the way, I'm just.
Yeah,
making
no,
sure.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
just doing this as
Do
an
we,
exercise.
are we considering the 12-year age thing?
We're leaving it as is in the ordinance. Under 12 doesn't count.
But
Is that,
I'm wondering why 12 was picked.
right?
That's really common.
That's my question too.
So
What's the
why wouldn't
average?
we
What's the
go
normal?
17 and under? They're not adults, if you're going with children. I don't know. That's my thought, that 17 would be good.
With 17 with adult supervision.
I can tell you we picked 12 because other cities and counties have done it. That doesn't make it right. I mean, you can clearly, if it gets a consensus, if you want to go to 16, 17, we don't care. We just want clarity as staff so we know how to regulate it.
If we do something now, Brad, and we make a mistake, can we come back in 3
Well,
months
whether
and
we pick
adopt
12
it?
or 16, either way, we're going to have to amend some things because I wouldn't call it a mistake. It's just, we're going to learn by doing.
Yeah. So, but do we do that yearly, or can we do that?
No, literally next month, you can come in and make a change. Yeah.
Yeah, then if we can do that, I'll agree to whatever.
So we're gonna figure out who's gonna do this as we go. That's the,
Well, we're gonna have to advertise for it. We're gonna have to talk to, we might have to hire another cop or say, I don't know. I mean, we gotta figure it out. But if we have it by June 1st, it gives us 2.5 months to try to figure it out.
Yep.
But at least we're doing something.
Sorry, that triggered another thought, sorry. Back to you haven't voted on, made a second on the motion, but I think we wanted to add, but I need the council to agree on this. At least I like Chip's idea of, it's effective now, but they have to license now, but they have until, you gotta tell me the date, August 1st, July 1st to meet all health safety requirements.
sure.
Or-
If that's a change, we gotta put it in there.
Right.
I think we should have it in front of us before we approve it.
Oh, that's
The
fine.
April meeting, it'll become effective.
I'm not arguing against that concept, I wanna make sure that I have the changes that you all are thinking we're gonna have.
Could we have a special meeting so we don't have to wait another month?
I would second that.
Okay, if that's what you wanna do, we can do that.
Next Wednesday.
Excuse me, I'd also just like to mention that there's a lot of other. There's a lot of, I'm Ryan Chise. There's a lot of like fire safety plans, schematics, mentioned about property, floor plans, so there's no language about, I can draw it on a napkin. It's to scale, if I draw it to scale. I mean, again, I just think that.
No, it's not a drawing. The city staff are gonna go out there and confirm, when I say city staff, we might hire somebody. We don't know who this person is, but somebody on behalf of the city is going to each property that wants a license and make sure that what you're calling a bedroom is a bedroom, according to building code.
And there's a
And we
fire
would
escape
like a
plan.
drawn, I wouldn't recommend a napkin,
Yeah,
but I think if it's to scale, so that when they go out there, they can identify what you're talking about, that would probably work.
Okay.
So is the fire department gonna help us come up with a fire exit plan for the property? And also, it says that we need to submit a floor plan of our property and also a layout of the entire property outside where the grill.
We want to know where you're parking, where the garbage cans
Right.
go.
So is that like an
Yeah.
aerial photo? Do we have to get an architect to actually draw a floor plan? Like, where are all these things?
A lot of people have
coming from?
surveys. That would be a
So-
really handy tool to have.
So you can just submit your land survey?
Yeah, if you have a survey, that's awesome.
And then the fire exit plan.
I think if you put a plan together, the fire, or
So we can
the
just
safety
write-
inspection will approve it. Either they'll say, no, that isn't going to work, or
So-
it is going to work.
So I guess the city will need to decide, despite the inspection of the house, who's going to look at all these documents too, the floor plan, the landscape plan, the fire escape plan.
Yep.
That you want submitted. And also, Mayor, you were saying that you wanted signage out front of how to get a hold of people. Under K here, it says that for short-term home rental, no signage is allowed on the property.
I want a license number on there, and maybe the website, being able to track it, something like that. The signage that is talking about is advertising VRBO for rent. The signage I'm talking about is just notification to the neighbors and to whomever.
Maybe we better clear that up. in the ordinance.
Up to, will you, Brad?
We already had that in our radar once you told us, we've already talked about that.
Okay.
Can we just, yeah, it was the signage thing, so in there, we're supposed to let the neighbors know that it's gonna be a VRBO.
Through
So there's-
notification from the city.
Correct.
Yep.
Now you're gonna put a sign somewhere with their license, right?
Yeah.
That's all we're gonna do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure.
And I like Bob's idea about having some kind of a website that you can connect
Yeah,
this
and that
license to
might-
the property. Yep.
Special meeting, special meeting.
Yep. Can I make a motion that we have the changes made and then have a
You already
special-
made a motion
Oh,
to
sorry.
And I
schedule a special meeting.
seconded
And we have a
that.
second.
Okay, for the special meeting, so
For-
the
to
motion
have
to
a
approve
special
this is
meeting.
gone.
Yes.
That died. Okay.
You can try to get 3 votes on adopted now.
No, that's all right. I mean, if we have a special, let's do it.
Kill that one, and a different motion to let's have a special meeting on May. Staff has to have the redraft done in time, so you'll have.
So let's have a special meeting. I'll make a motion that we do it May 22nd, I believe, at 2 PM.
What?
May?
May?
March. Thanks.
Okay.
It's not as easy as I make it look, I'll just guarantee you. You are? Okay. And this week is too soon.
Is it too soon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
For Wednesday.
You gotta have 3 days' notice. And Jackson,
Yeah, I mean, if you
No,
guys
he's
want
the
to do it, you
most-
can, but I can't pull off work that quick, but
You can do it in the evening.
we can always do it in the evening. That's fine.
Friday night?
night at Moonlight Bay.
As long as the city clerk is taking notes.
Tuesday,
Here?
Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Can we make it earlier?
What?
Jeez. Can we make it at 4?
The council can
Let's
make
do-
it, the council can make it whenever you say we're doing it.
I know. What is Friday?
You want to be eating that?
No, I want, it's.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Oh,
How about next Monday? Next Monday night at 5:30.
okay. Char, does that work with you?
Monday, the
You
20th.
volunteered for an evening. Does that,
Oh, I can't do it
The
this Friday. We
20th,
can't do
we
it this
have chiefs meeting, but that's in the morning.
Well, let's go to the 21st.
My wife has a medical appointment in the afternoon. That shouldn't be.
Evening.
Talking 5:30.
5:30. 5:30.
5:30 when? Monday?
5:30, Monday, the 20th.
can you do it? Yep. Aaron?
Sure.
March 20th, 5:30. I make a motion, we have a special meeting to talk about this ordinance on March 20th at 5:30.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5:30.
Opposed? All in favor, huh?
This is a one agenda item meeting.
Well, I wanted to add, I might add something to it, just to talk about that property a little bit.
Well, let's just get this done first.
Yeah. Okay,
That's what, the 20th?
so we're gonna put this on hold, we're gonna
Okay.
talk about it March 20th
Okay,
at a special meeting,
Okay.
sounds good.
and we cannot, can we make a vote at that meeting to pass it or not? We could.
Brad, can you have everything
Figure it out.
done by then?
Oh, getting it done won't be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. It might not be what you want, but I'll have a redraft done.
Please, Brad.
As long as it's what I want, Brad. That's all that matters. All right. Okay, are we done with that?
Yeah.
What's A? That's revised draft ordinance. That's what we just did. Letter from Cindy and David Jensen. Boy.
You can go if you want.
Here, Jackson,
I said you can go if you want.
would you read that letter?
It's all in the letter.
Oh, okay. You want me to read this?
No, it's so long. Oh.
Oh, is that in regards to this? Do you want us to read it?
I can read it. I have no
That's
problem.
why it was in your packet ahead of time, so
Yeah.
you guys had time to read it.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm Cinda Jensen.
Hi, Cindy.
Nice to see you all. Yeah, I was thinking that probably was read before the night's.
We read it, but I mean, do you want us to publicly read it?
No, I feel like it's, you know what, my voice is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't even know you and I like you.
Thank you. We're set.
Okay. Okay, next is a thank you note. Devera, how do you say that name? Here's a thank you note, just to thank you very much of all the years we have lived here since I lost my husband. Thank you for doing such a wonderful job of plowing Sandpoint Drive. So there you go, Patrick. Thank you, sir. Resolution accepting donations.
I'll make a motion to
I'll
accept.
second it.
Well, I want to just read the donations. I usually do that. Donation from the Cross Lake Firefighters Relief Association for $209 for fitness equipment maintenance. And then Devera Gruber of $100, thank you for plowing as determined by council. So we need to direct that $100?
Now or later.
Well, if you're going to make a motion to do it, let's direct that. Where do you want that $100 to go? I'd say it should go to the Public Works guys, let them have pizza. Yeah. Invite whoever you want. Have a pizza party. That's a motion. Anybody second it?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, I'm getting lost here.
Should we move that Emily food shelf one, do it now, or should we move it? Because it's just in order with the binder.
Go ahead. Do it.
I think we should donate to them. If we've done it every year, and we told them to not last year, and why would we all of a sudden not do it?
We have.
And it would be nice to maybe see some go to Cross Lake as well. If we're giving to Emily, we should be giving to our own community. If we're giving 500 to Emily, I think 500 should go to Cross Lake.
Don't we already?
No, we don't. So I would like to make a motion for $1,000, 500 to go to the food shelf in Emily, and 500 to go to the food shelf in Cross Lake.
I think we only gave 250, didn't we?
I thought I
Budget,
heard 500.
250? Oh,
I thought I heard 500.
I believe it was 250.
Last year, we gave 250 to Emily.
250 to Emily then, and 250 to Cross Lake.
I'll second that motion.
And we're okay doing that, right? I mean, I'm a little sensitive about giving taxpayer
Giving
money away,
a donation to a food shelf is
but we
allowed.
can do that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries with all ayes. Okay, discuss fire chief wages. I don't know what this is, so who's going to take this one?
Aaron, you had asked that to be put back on the agenda?
Well, yes, I did. Thank you. Marcia, we had conversation at the last meeting, and you and I understood the last motion two different ways.
Yes,
And
we
I'll
did.
let you explain that, what you understood.
My understanding is that we were getting rid of the fire chief's stipend of $1,200 and replacing it with $30 an hour, not changing training or call time, just the stipend. That was my understanding.
See, I understood that it was $30 an hour across the board. And that's why I was trying to get everybody to kind of slow down, because
In
he's
addition
on
to the
call
stipend?
24/7.
No.
Minus the
No.
stipend.
Okay, just 30 bucks an hour.
It was straight $30 an hour is what I understood.
That's the way I understood it
That's
too.
what I understood.
And that, because you made the motion.
Because I even watched the video, and all we did was talk about replacing the stipend. So it was not,
Yeah, well, when she
It
made the
was-
motion, that's why I was trying to get everybody to stop, because if you give them $30 an hour, we can get ourselves in some hot water, because that can end up being $45 an hour at times, because if he works more than 8 hours in a day, or more than 40 hours in a week, that's time and a half.
Can we limit the number of hours?
No, because the fire chief is on call 24/7.
well, the whole fire department, aren't they? So,
Yeah. But he also has all the admin duties and everything else that he does.
okay. So, I mean, it's wide open, as many hours as he wants. I think maybe we should cap it to 20 hours a week, and then train in the assistant chief at 10 hours a week, and you've almost got a full-time person there without paying benefits, the health benefits, the pension benefits. I think we'd be better off if we did it that way. And then you're training in the new chief, possibly helping with the administrative stuff. You have 30 hours for administrative stuff weekly. They should be able to get it done.
I honestly don't know how you'd ever get that to work. I don't.
What do you mean?
Maybe somebody else can give me.
What? They just have 20 hours a week, the fire chief, and 10 hours a week.
24/7.
No. I'm talking about his administrative duties. On-call is separate. The training and the on-call is separate from that 20 hours cap.
So you're trying to make it go back to the stipend thing again.
No, it'd be twice the stipend. Because they're going to put in the 20 hours. It's more than that, because you're going to give the assistant chief probably 10 hours a week to learn the ropes.
I don't think that could work.
Why? I don't understand. Tell me why it wouldn't work.
Number one, you have no idea on the administrative part of things, what he's going to end up being called to do.
That's just 10.
10 hours a week. And he can run more.
But that's not fire chief. Fire chief is the reporting and this, whatever, I don't even know what it all is.
I don't see it working. I don't.
I don't see it not working. I think it's a good thing. I think cap it at 20 and give the assistant chief 10, and you got 30 hours a week for administrative in the fire department. Plus, they get their training, $20 an hour, and they get their,
20?
and on-call, $25 an hour.
$20 an hour when they're.
Oh, you got so many different dollar figures going.
But that's a motion. Is there a second on it?
I'm a little lost.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm a little lost.
Well, the thing
You
that,
want me to redo it? I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we cap the fire chief's administrative hours to 20 a week and give the assistant fire chief 10 hours a week. And that's outside, that's for administrative duties. And they also will get $25 an hour for calls and $20 for training.
okay, do you understand that?
A little bit. A little bit.
So does anybody want to second it?
What is it now? It's 20.
Well, it's full-time.
Right.
So this gets it to part-time.
No cap.
I do have
About a
I
full-time.
have a question, because
We
is
we need a second before we
Yeah,
go
somebody
anywhere
second
else.
it. Nobody's going to second it? I'll second it. Okay, what do you got? What do you got, Char?
Is the assistant chief willing to do 10 hours a week?
Well, or somebody. Got to delegate it to somebody else to do it. And there should be somebody in that department that would be willing to do that, and should be. In the event
You're
that
right,
we're
but I
gone.
don't know if
mean,
there
We
is.
need backup.
Should we clarify that before we?
Where is Chip?
What happens if Chip leaves?
He went on a call.
No, but I mean, what happens if he leaves? Somebody else needs to be trained in. So it's crazy that we're,
Dave, if we keep screwing around with this like this, he's going to leave. Do you all understand that?
the sun comes up and the sun goes down. That can happen
But-
any day,
but you would-
regardless of what we do, you know?
If you sit down and do it in a common sense of way, then I think he stays for at least 5 years and we get the new chief trained.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Did anybody second it?
You did.
Oh, I did. Okay, so this is the discussion.
You're saving for benefits. You're probably looking at $25,000 a year for hospitalization, another close to 18% in pension, matching their wage. It just makes more sense to keep it as a part-time position.
So what we did last time at the $30 an hour didn't fix the issue? Isn't that why we did that?
That he didn't have an increase in his stipend since I don't know when.
Temporarily it helped it temporarily until we.
So now you're actually doubling the stipend, and you're still paying them on-call and training, $25 an hour on-call and $20 an hour
Plus
for
the
training.
$30.
Plus the
On top.
the $30 an hour for 20 hours a week.
So one thing you need to understand is what he does and how many hours he spends doing that, and your motion doesn't reflect that. When we spoke about this the first time, to eliminate the stipend, we backed into the total hours based on his pay rate, and he was working essentially just short of a full-time staff at $20 an hour. And again, the whole idea of visiting this was to try to have an interim step to get us to what our ultimate solution would be so we can budget appropriately for it. And so everyone's understanding, except Marcia's, was to eliminate the stipend and replace it with an hourly wage. Mr. Person at that time also validated that he'd already been eligible for benefits, he just chose not to take them. So whether you change his hours, $20 or $25 or $1 an hour, or whatever you feel is appropriate, he still qualifies for it. And it's not 2,080 hours. He still is eligible for it. So I would caution you to heed Aaron's advice to use this time to leave it like it was at the $30 and work through that transition so you have an appropriate solution going forward.
I got a little curiosity though, Mike. How did we go from a volunteer part-time fire to now we're launched into a full-time position? Was that a council decision or
No,
was
you're
that an
confused.
internal?
You're confused.
I'm confused. Okay,
Yes.
well, enlighten me then.
Well, let me try.
Okay?
We've always had a paid on-call fire department. It's always been called paid on-call. The confusion is volunteer.
Okay. The time, the full-time status though. When did that change?
It didn't. He's just been compensated for the hours he's been working.
Well,
at least for the last 3 years at a lower rate.
Yeah.
It seems like it would make sense to, maybe during the Public Safety Committee meeting, to try to nail down something more specific. It just all seems really vague.
Well, there's two committees. There's one on the 20th in the morning, that's the Fire Chiefs Committee. Marcia and I are on that committee. And then the Public Safety Committee also has been addressing it off and on. And I don't know, he's the chair of the Public Safety, but
Just seems,
I
it
think
seems
we-
really vague. I would have a hard time voting for this because I don't,
We need a little more information.
yeah, it doesn't feel very.
Well, and I'm not sure that the citizens of town are ready for a full-time department, which is what it's turning into.
full-time fire chief does not make a full-time department. Do you have something you wanted to?
But it's probably the first step toward it.
Yes,
Bob?
well, if you can't hire enough to cover the fire calls and the medical calls, we're going to be forced to move more and more into that direction. And keep in mind, you've already got two that are full-time. You need to understand that, in Seth and Joe. And they're on benefits, they're on everything. And I understand they have other jobs, but they respond accordingly during the day, I think it is. Go ahead.
Bob Helis, 14369 Swan Drive. You may all remember at the January meeting that our city administrator asked for the Public Safety Commission to review this matter. And we did at the last meeting, last Wednesday. And the commission recommended to the council, we are in full support of a full-time fire chief position in the city of Cross Lake, if at all possible, by May 1, 2023. And it was unanimous with Herzog abstaining.
We don't have that.
I think, Chief Lee, I think you had some, you wanted to add in.
If, it just, what I'm understanding, Marcia, is that you want to limit his administrative hours, 20 hours a week at $30 an hour, correct? But the fire chief could also respond to who knows how many calls during the week. That still adds on to his hourly wage, so you're still going to be paying him, and once he gets over 1,040 hours in a year, you're going to end up paying him prorated benefits. You can't differentiate between the hours. He's still acting as a fire chief, if I am reading this correct.
What is the magic number?
1,040.
1,040?
And the point was, I'm not saying you can or you can't, but you can try to regulate, which is what your point was, administrative time, but that's the counter that a couple people have mentioned. You can't say you can't go to that fire call. I mean, that's the part we can't control. And that alone can get you to the.
That's not, I'm excluding that.
I know you didn't say that, and you did not say that, but you got to add the two together is the point.
So then, other members of the fire department are going to end up getting benefits then too, if they go over that 1,040.
Don't two of them already? Yeah, we already have two that qualify.
Two of our public works employees are.
Yeah, they're full.
They already get time and a half.
I think you'd be hard pressed for one of the paid on-call firefighters / EMTs or emergency responders to hit 1,040 hours in a year.
The other part of this is when you say 20 hours a week, then you've already made him half-time and he qualifies for half-time benefits, I believe. I know our staff did where I used to work.
Yes, but then add that to the other time, like we all agree, he's got other hats, so when you add that all together,
He's full-time.
you can't label it out of what he's really doing. Labels aren't gonna help you.
Well, Chicago Fire, here we come. Yeah, I got Paul coming up here.
So did.
Good luck.
I know he's not here. He had 157 hours in training last month.
That's just our fire department? 157 hours of training our fire department?
That's him taking training. That's him taking training.
That's a lot of training.
And Jory had 57 hours. I mean, and I guess I don't really understand, we have activities paid at $20 an hour. Nobody can tell me what the activities are. That's outside of training. They get paid $20 an hour for activities. And I think most of them have 5, 10, yeah, I could go through it, but I'm losing. What?
I can't speak completely for the fire department, but individually there isn't that much training a month.
Is that just for the month?
This is last month.
It could be conference, but
Uh,
are we talking just one person or are we talking multiple?
Multiple.
Okay. Each had 157 hours? Okay. Combined?
No, not combined, individually.
Oh, Jim, yeah. That was, and again, that'll happen.
That doesn't happen every month. That just happened to be last month.
Yeah, this is the first time we've ever seen a report like this.
just trying to stay within the budget, and I think we're jumping the gun a little bit here, and
Don't
I
they
don't
do
see any
training
problem with doing this.
Wednesday nights?
Well, how do we get 157 hours of training for 1 month?
But doesn't
That equates to
Chip's
6
company
solid
hold that
days.
training, Aaron?
No, wait a minute, it says units, 152.
Well, units 152, fire training, units 152.
You know, maybe we should have Chip answer your questions, Marcia, when he comes back.
He's on a call.
Does it,
He's on
do
a
you know
call.
what activities are?
They have activities on Wednesdays when they do their training.
What are activities?
I can't speak directly
Yeah.
to that.
Oh,
And you've had an opportunity to ask Chip that too, instead of debating it tonight.
Okay, so we're going to let that sit.
You have a motion and a second, correct, Shar?
Okay, let's
That you
table
need to
this for now.
decide on.
Yeah.
Well, you need a vote on that motion, and you can, 3 of you can vote no and do something else.
Yeah.
You gotta
Vote on Marcia's motion?
Yes.
No.
Well, I voted
We're
yes,
voting?
but you'll,
You
yeah,
asking for a vote?
yeah.
Oh,
So these two vote.
On the motion. Just vote no.
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 Okay, now it dies, and now you can ask the staff to come back to or whatever, but
Well, let's,
There's Chip right there.
there he is. Should we do it right here?
It seems way too complicated to try to solve it right now.
Well, think of it is, just make it, I don't give a shit what that is. Pardon my language. I'm sorry.
What are
Here,
we talking about?
so you
I have no
understand.
idea what you're talking about.
Come here.
Right here.
Chip, come here. Oh, you got it there.
Just take that and use it. That's what she was talking about.
Fire training or activities?
Activities, the 152 hours and
That's training.
the other stuff.
There's 2 fire trainings and then a fire calls.
And then there's activities.
One shows fire training of 152 units.
I don't know what
This one.
Here, Chip, I can.
So Marcia, the sheet that I gave you in our working group meeting, everything that's on that sheet is part of activities, from reporting all the calls, putting them in infers, doing maintenance checks, meeting with, doing plan reviews, you name it. I can give you 1,000 things that I do.
so, no, this is other firemen. Activities at $20 an hour. Outside of the training, there's activities there. Yeah, they're all through there.
So activities for firefighters are monthly truck checks, any type of public education, things like that. That's activities for the firefighters. So you have training, outside training, calls, activities in a payroll week or month. Training, in-house training is the scheduled 2 trainings a month. The outside training is if they go to outside training, like a conference or any other type of training. And then calls are calls. Activities are truck checks that they have to do monthly, service calls, public education, liaison or go meeting with doing putting fire alarms in people's houses, CO alarms, doing emergency evacuation plans, meeting with the nursing homes. Those are activities.
Okay, nobody could tell me what activities were.
I missed the whole conversation, so I don't know what we're talking about, so I just giving you an explanation.
In one spot here on your anything. Thank you. On your thing here, it shows duty crew 1 at $60, and then it shows fire training, 9 units at 27, a rate of 27 for 243, and that's Medicare? Oh, that's his
no idea
Medicare
what he's
payments and
looking at.
stuff.
No, that's a different,
That's different.
So you must have went to a conference too.
The amount is 243.
Last month.
Another one is fire training, 152 hours at $30 an hour, and then it shows a dollar figure. I've got it highlighted right here since she brought it, okay? I just got this tonight.
In purple. 152 hours of training, what is?
That's what she's asking about.
The 152 hours, I was at a ICS 300 class, which was 24 hours. I was at the Chiefs Conference in Alexandria. That's another 18 hours. We had a Crow Wing County Fire Chiefs meeting, and then all of the work that I do goes under that. All the hours that I put in at the fire department go under that line item.
Are you presenting at the conferences or?
No, I have continuing education.
Oh.
So I have a detailed hour-by-hour timesheet if you'd like me to give that to you.
Didn't you tell me, Chip, that because you conduct trainings, that our, firefighters, that they don't have to pay for their training?
When you train our firefighters, how
I
does that
don't
work?
personally, the company that I own,
Right,
yes,
yeah.
does fire training for the fire department.
Right,
And we bring in instructors from around the state to do training, yes, and it's free.
right. Because okay.
It's free to the city of Cross Lake?
Correct,
Okay, because there is a stipend that comes from the state of Minnesota.
correct.
Okay, just so that.
So the
if you
city
start
does not
hearing
pay
about
for training.
pay,
Right.
This is a complicated mess.
Right.
Okay?
But the city does pay for training.
If the way it's set up right now, the city writes Fire Inc. a check. The city submits the invoice to, and a reimbursement form to the MBFD. The MBFD e-files, or whatever it's called, a check into your general fund. We can do it a different way where they pay me direct and you don't see any of it. Some departments do that.
So when the Fire Inc. is on the claims,
On the what?
on the claims list, we're paying you, right?
That is correct. They're paying my business.
Yes. And that comes up with the conflict of interest and the affidavit. Are you filling that out now?
I haven't seen anything.
Oh. Is that gonna happen, Brad?
Well, I didn't show it to Chip. I showed you what you were asking for. I mean, I didn't take, we can do whatever you want, but I didn't hear back. I just showed you what you were looking for, I think.
No, I had that information. I was looking
But
for you to advise the staff that in compliance with the law, they have to do that.
We should do that. But all I did is answer a question for now. But I can add that to my to-do list.
Anything else?
So what my suggestion would be is to add Fire Inc. to your consent agenda as a separate bill with a copy of the affidavit attached to it in order to comply with the,
Every bill?
yes, every bill. When a claim is paid, that's what it says, when the claim is paid. It takes, you'll have that form, all you have to do is put the amount in there and sign it. That's all there's to it. It's really simple.
Okay.
It's like a minute. I don't know, how fast can you sign your name? It is just acknowledging, it's acknowledging the fact that we are hiring your company for training. That's all it is. I'm not saying don't. I'm not trying to change anything except for comply with the law.
Can I ask another question? I heard that you wanted me to only work 20 hours a week.
No, only on.
Well, I heard that,
Administrative paperwork.
Not total.
because I wouldn't do anything then. I'd be just going to calls if that was the case.
I wasn't including calls or anything else, or
Who's going to do
training.
the rest of the work then?
I guess you weren't here. I had suggested that 10 hours, additional 10 hours go to the assistant chief to,
How are you going to compensate them?
what?
How would you compensate them?
$25 an hour or $30 an hour, whatever the council decides. Then you'd have 30 hours a week of administrative for the fire department.
And how are you gonna find, you've been in those meetings and they don't have time to do that. So who are you gonna find to do that? You were in the meetings, they said they don't have time to do that.
Well, then I guess maybe we should get staff to help you. Not staff, hire part-time. I was just trying to get away from the whole full-time thing, but I'm
know
not
you
going
are.
to,
You're
so it
the
doesn't
only one.
really matter anymore.
Dave, I'm going to make a motion. I make a motion, we pay him $30 an hour based on a 2,080-hour work schedule, which comes out to, if my math is correct, it comes out to $62,400 a year, which is $5,200 a month. He's salaried, he gets benefits, and we move on.
But, okay, I'm going to second that just so we can discuss it. Does that include medical insurance, vacation time, the full benefit package then?
Full benefit package. It also means that we will, I'm going to guess, end up, because he's under fire and police, then at that point, he's paying into the police fund, not into the other fund. Okay?
Okay. How about the assistant?
As he
And then
develops
we're
the
going to need a
assistant,
city
he gets-
vehicle for him too, right?
No, assistant, as he moves along, he gets his $25 an hour. And then if he starts taking over more administrative stuff and so forth, then maybe we look at him at some point in the next 2-3 years as taking over as the fire chief, and Chip going back to being part-time. But that's down the road. That has to be decided as time goes on. But that's my motion, and
So what vehicle is he going to drive? Do we have to buy a new vehicle for it?
Why does an assistant need a vehicle?
Why does he have to have a vehicle?
Well, that was one of the
he
things.
was-
Yeah, because he's driving his own right now, so.
So he would get mileage,
About the assistant.
but he would get mileage, Jackson.
What?
He'd get mileage. He'd qualify for mileage if he chose to take it.
It opens up a can of worms, but.
I guess I might add to help your decision is you're already on the hook for benefits. I think you're just starting to realize it, and you have been for some time.
Effective May, what was it he said? Where'd he go? I don't see him. I think he said May 1st.
So is he getting on-call pay and training pay too?
Marcia, the air pressure in here is killing my hearing aids. I'm sorry. What? Salary. Yeah, salary. So there's no overtime.
Chip said, what about calls?
5,200 a month covers you totally. It's full-time salaried. Full-time employee, 5,200 a month, and your full-time benefits, everything. Now, 52 obviously doesn't include benefits. But let's get it started.
Maybe he doesn't want to accept that.
Well, that's his decision.
I'm sorry I came into this late, so I don't know where you're at, what you're talking about. I have no idea what's going on.
Do you want to repeat your,
Okay, why don't you come up to the podium, then we can,
I'd rather not do that right now.
okay. Chip, the discussion came out, the $30 an hour, and the fact that if you work in excess of 8 hours in a day or 40 hours in a week, you qualify for overtime, okay? We went through a long discussion on halftime for administrative work and 10 hours for this and so forth, okay? That failed. My motion is that we pay on the basis of $30 an hour, which comes to $62,400 a year, divided by 12 months, gives you $5,200 a month salaried, okay? And you qualify for benefits. Well, the deal will be then you do not work over 8 hours a day, and you do not work in excess of 40.
That would be a full-time position. If I do full-time, that's what I would have to do. But after 8 hours, I couldn't work, so if I had a big call, I wouldn't be able to go. Unless you paid me overtime.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I mean,
Then Chip, I don't know what the solution will be for what you have. We're probably going to end up discussing Marcia's even more.
Is this a normal way to discuss how you hire
We have to do it in a public meeting. I know. It's terrible. It's terrible. I know, but we have to do it in a public meeting.
Can't do it anywhere else.
Very unfortunate. Table it.
Well, it,
Does the public safety have a meeting on Monday? I thought somebody said on the 20th you were having a meeting.
No, that's the chief. That's the fire chief's meeting.
is anyone from the
And
council?
only Marcia and I are assigned to attend it, but anybody else can attend, I mean.
Well, it just seems like they should be able to come to some consensus in a separate meeting before we discuss it up here. I mean, it's almost impossible to come to a,
Public safety committee can, but then they come and give it to us.
Right.
And we-
We've been rammed every time.
It's just a question of, do we want to have full-time? I mean, that's what I question. It's always been, and I know it's been on call. It's never been 4 times a month we have drills and, you know, it's escalating. And it has been for the last so many years.
well, the number of calls have also increased, haven't they? I mean,
So would it help move the discussion along to finish your voting process and recommend it goes back to public safety on Monday so everyone can get on the same page?
We don't have public safety on
Or fire,
yeah,
fire chief?
yes.
And handle it that way instead of continuing this type of debate?
Then I'll call for the vote.
Okay, so all in favor? And your motion was to give him 30, you know,
Make it full-time salary at a
60 or
specific
whatever.
rate.
okay, so all in favor of that?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
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 You're not in favor?
You're talking
You're not in
about,
favor of your own motion?
I'm in favor of it, yes, but
Well, you need to
yes.
say so.
Now
Yes.
we're pushing it back that way.
All right. All opposed? Aye.
I'm abstain. Can I abstain? I can't, no. Then I'll say no.
I'll say, I'll oppose it.
Okay, so the motion fails. Oh, I'm sorry. 3-2.
3-2. Marcia and I both opposed it.
Aaron and Jackson voted for it, and the 3 of us opposed. Yeah. But, yeah, and we need to take it up, and we need to put it to bed sometime, somehow. Yeah.
Did you, I have a question. I was gone. Did you go over my hourly wage for February and March? Did you clarify that, Marcia? Remember you said you didn't think I was getting paid $30 for everything I did?
Yeah, at the fire meeting, that was the discussion between Aaron and I when we were talking stipend
Correct.
and replacing the stipend with $30 an hour. That's where that conversation came into play.
Right, so what is the answer? What was voted on last month? Is it $30 for everything, or was it $30 for administration?
Everything.
I think it was everything.
Everything. Everything,
Is
okay.
that what the motion reads?
Back in January.
Didn't you get didn't
Or
they make a
February.
motion?
Did he get paid?
Last month, Shar, last month it was her motion.
No, we discussed it now. Did one of you make a motion that it was for everything?
No.
Oh, then I guess maybe
4 of
better.
us agreed that it was for everything. and
Last
you were the
month it
one
was
that
voted.
Last month is what we
It
were
was
talking
voted
about.
for $30 an hour. 4 of us said for everything.
Yeah.
One said no.
Okay.
4-1.
So
was
Marcia,
cleared.
are you clear now from the meeting that?
30.
Okay.
Am I right? We didn't make a motion this time. Is that what you, okay.
We clarified a motion, I think. Okay, the last thing I got is, piggybacking on that workshop for the VRBOs, I would like to have some conversation on the purchase of that property. Can't we just get along?
We're getting along. We're getting along. We're getting along.
Okay, so I'm going to make that a motion. Is there a second for it?
You're adding this to Monday's meeting?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was an addition for tonight.
It was, but he wants to move it to the 20th.
Why not now?
Well, when did we move the VRBO meeting to the next one that we're having?
20th.
20th.
20th,
Yeah,
yeah.
so then I'm just saying that in addition to that,
Why not just talk about it now?
no. And we have to post it in order to be able to talk about it. So I'm going to make a motion.
Never done that before.
Aaron made a motion
he-
to add it tonight to the
Oh, to-
agenda.
Agreed.
Oh. Yeah, but we don't have anything from Brad. It'd be nice to have that
No, I'm
appraisal
not,
back.
remember,
No.
just, let's make sure we're on the same page there. I'm not gonna, what I was told to do, or you guys voted to authorize me to do, is to get an appraisal, to get our own verification of what the value is. I've already hired that. I don't have it, and I won't have it on the 20th. The guy said it's gonna take probably a month to get the thing back. So until then, I don't have anything to share with you, and I won't have anything to share on the 20th either.
Oh, well,
When I say a month, I ordered it 2 weeks ago, so maybe 2 weeks from now or so, I'm guessing, but knowing how appraisers are, I'm not gonna have it by Monday.
okay, so I'll just call a special meeting whenever we get that information. We'll talk about it.
Hold on, Dave. You dumped on us that you wanted to make a $675,000 purchase of 51 acres. When it comes out, that comes out to $14,000 an acre, and you got swampland in there. So when you take that out, the
Aaron,
price...
there is no swampland in there, so talk factually if you're going to talk about it.
Okay, what about the building in there? What are we going to do with that?
Not in there.
It's not.
Excluded. It's pulled out. It's not part of it.
So it's still 51 acres.
Yeah.
But again,
Okay,
our appraiser might,
but-
you ask for an appraisal to verify, the appraisal might come back at 300,000. Then the deal is probably dead at that point, but that's why we got an appraisal. We don't have it yet. What are we talking about in the meantime? That's
Well,
why we ordered an
I
appraisal.
think Dave needs to be open to the public about his connection to that street and to the property.
Well, I'm very familiar with the property. There's no question about it.
And
That's-
tell everybody your familiarity.
Well, I used to own it
And you sold it to the person that owns it now.
17 years ago.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where's the
And
street?
now this guy is going to get rid of it this spring. That's the urgency to it, Aaron.
No,
Because it's going to be gone.
Well, let it go, as far as I'm concerned, because we don't.
Well, it's going to be another, right behind Andy's, then it's going to be
That-
another tragic mistake, because the
Well, let it
property is one thing, but the corridor going up to the future property, tax forfeit property, is the gem in that purchase.
David, when you buy property from the city or from the county, they transfer that property to HRA. It
Then
does
we're
not
hosed.
transfer to the buyer. And I don't think you understand how that
We're
stuff works.
hosed.
And if you want to run a street up there, I would need Phil to tell me, but I think that you have to build a different road. If you want to run up to Highway 1, county's not going to let us.
I don't know if that's going to happen. All it is a window of opportunity for the future across Lake. It's never going to happen in my lifetime, I'm sure. Once that property sells, then there is not an opportunity.
Who is the developer? And on this staff here and on our staff, who is a developer?
Well, there isn't a developer.
Okay,
It's a piece
who's
of property.
the real?
Maybe the city just reserves an easement for a road going through it, and then they sell that property to a developer.
You were in there talking about a whole development with lots and everything else.
I was trying to
what
justify
is
the
it?
the payback to the city in the short term, but that certainly doesn't have to be part of
To pay
anything.
back to the city.
Huh?
It's not going to pay back to the city, because you got to run a street up there, you got to run utilities up there, you got to lay all this stuff out. You need a professional developer, and we don't have one. And yet you want to buy the property. I think this thing needs to stop right now.
I
No
brought
special
this to
meetings,
the
it's
city
over.
because it is an opportunity that is not going to be here very long. It's going to go. It's going to be gone, and it's another one of those opportunities.
But I think it's an opportunity that's just flat out of line. We are not in the development business or the property management ownership business.
All right.
I would have to agree. I was on board at first, Dave, but I just don't think we should be selling and buying property and being the ones to develop land in the city on the taxpayers' dollars. I really just don't think that's
I
a
still look
wise
forward to
idea.
that appraisal.
And you went for a,
I still look forward to that appraisal.
Well, I'm going to get the appraisal unless you guys tell me to stop, and it would be a partial bill rather than a full bill. But again, in my mind, there's nothing to really, that's why we got the appraisal, to have more information. But I don't care if we, but right now the order is, I ordered it whenever the last council meeting was. The next day I talked to the appraiser and says, get me an appraisal on the 51 acres.
So we're already on the hook for the bill anyway.
Well, if you killed it now, it would be probably less than a full bill. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't asked that question. But right now, that's what I was told to do, and I'm doing it, and I'll bring it to the council when I get it.
I just look back to what Jim Anderson offered us, that corner behind Annie's for 250 grand, and we did the same thing here. We don't know what we're gonna do with it, and now that opportunity passed. It may come back to us. This one here, this guy is gonna get rid of it. Somebody's gonna buy it, and it is never gonna come back.
well, then I think you should sell it to somebody else, because I don't feel that we belong in that business at all.
All right.
And I'll make a motion, we kill it tonight. And that is a motion.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second for discussion.
I don't have anything to discuss. You got anything?
I just don't think it's a smart idea for the city to buy that and develop it. I mean, I know now you're saying you don't know what you want to do with it, but
Maybe we don't develop it.
but that was the whole intention to buy it, was in the beginning.
Easement through for that road going up to the county land, and we sell it to
To go
somebody.
where, though?
To go to the county land.
Why?
For 20 years from now, when the city's busting at the seams and they can't find any property, and
So
then
we're just going to sit on that and pay taxes on a road to nowhere?
we wouldn't put the road in. We just reserve an easement. We wouldn't do anything.
I don't know.
That's a
I'm
huge-
not in agreement.
Expenditure. And I don't think it's an appropriate expenditure for this.
The only thing we do is we would control what happens to it. Now we're not going to control it. It's,
Well,
I mean,
that's-
you guys table this thing. I'll call the guy up tonight and say, you know, it'll be sold by, right, Brad? I mean,
I have no idea how fast it'll sell, but all I need to know is, there's no legal questions here other than, do we want to kill the appraisal? Whether you want to develop, you can legally. That doesn't mean you should. That's not a legal question. That's a policy question. But I just need three of you to confirm, let's keep doing the appraisal, or three of you to say, no, kill the appraisal.
okay, so we've got a motion and a second to kill it.
In my mind, that means, at a minimum, kill the appraisal, maybe more than that too, but that's all I care about right now is.
It's more than that. I want
I know you,
this project,
but-
okay?
But as part of that, I would kill the appraisal.
Okay, so all in favor? Say aye.
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 Marcia, you said aye?
Yeah, I'll say aye.
Okay, and you, all opposed, me? You're going to abstain again? Sandy, you can't do that. You got to vote.
Okay, I'm going to say aye also.
All right, appraisal's done. Sorry, folks, it's another missed opportunity that we have, but we'll move on. Okay, that's all I had. City Administrator report.
Okay, I have some good news that everyone should enjoy, and there should be no debate on it. And there's no motion required or further discussion. It's for information only. Everyone remembers back in May of last year, we had a wonderful storm that came through the city, and a lot of trees went down and people lost power, and it was countywide, and that qualified because of the size and scope of the disaster, that it qualified for federal funding. And so we went back, and Pat's team went out and took GPS coordinates of every tree that fell down, where it landed, if it hit something, he reported it. Chip's team took pictures, TJ staff went out and did the same thing and moved trees. So we've gotten final approval on that, and so we should receive sometime in the next month or so, just under $21,000 for that effort to help us recover what we spent to do that. So that's good news. The second good news is, well, bad news, good news. 10 days later, we had another storm. I remember when, Pat, you and I were out one Friday night taking trees off the road when people were lined up with their boats for a half a mile trying to get down the road, and his staff was already gone for the weekend, so we went and took some trees off the road. My best guess today, TJ, you just burned the brush pile last month. So when we submit those costs and get approval, it's in process. That one was right on the fringe of whether it qualified for state or only, or federal and state. So at 75% reimbursement, we should get around $12,000, $13,000 back. Now, the big one that hit was in December, when we had the snowstorm. You say, well, how could a snowstorm cause that much damage? Well, this one was county-wide. When the windstorms came through, they didn't hit everybody's trees or houses or property. It was quite selective, but when the snow fell, we had all that snow back in December, it hit everybody countywide. So we've submitted an estimate, and our best guess today is about $30,000 we should recover. The only problem is we don't know if that's low or high or even close, because most of those trees, Pat's crew has covered them with snow, and we can't get to them right now. So when the snow melts in July, he'll be out picking up trees and giving us GPS coordinates and pictures of trees and where they put them and how long it took them to burn them, and which the CHIPS fire trucks and staff they used to put out the fire when it got too big and stuff like that. So we'll probably be sitting here a year from now once we know what those numbers are. But the good news is we got $21,000 coming, 13 is virtually assured, and we're probably on the hook for another 30 to recover later this year. That's all I have.
Great.
Okay.
So any questions,
Thanks for the
please
good
call me.
news.
I know Sandy calls me with questions, Aaron does, Jackson every Wednesday, like clockwork. So questions on anything, this or other things, make sure you get your questions to me, and I'll try to answer them. Thank you.
All right, Patty. Sure you want to come up here after all this?
Anyway, Mayor and council persons, first of all, thank you for your recommending support of Cross Lake Food Shelf and Emily, because I thought Cross Lake should be on the, had been included that last time. Yeah, yeah, okay. So this is pretty short, but I just, here. Can you put that up? Okay, good. So this is the agenda for the Housing Symposium on April 5th, and it's called Cross Lake Housing, Opportunity or Dilemma. And so we're going to try to figure out what to do over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years with housing. But our agenda is a welcome and an overview, and on the building market rate housing or workforce. And Dean Fitch, our Cross Lake president, will do that. Marcia, I have to take your name off, but I put it on there before, when I did this agenda. Guest introductions, and that is who will be there in the contractor and builder and development community. And we've identified, as far as we can figure out, builders and developers from the Cross Lake area who will be invited. Our very own Cindy Mugito, who knows about I talked to her about it. She knows all about housing in Cross Lake, so she's gonna bring it down to a little bit more of a local perspective. And then Tyler will give an overview of Crow Wing County and housing from Bladek. And then we're going to have a working lunch. We are going to have a 10-minute break, but people will be able to pick up their lunch and go back to the seat, because this is only for 2 hours. And at this, I want to preface it that this meeting is not finding a solution. This is looking at opportunities where we have the occasion perhaps to partner together with other developers, contractors. And Tim Hool, the county administrator, will be there to talk about tax forfeited property, and the requirements and the restrictions, and there are a lot. Eric Sharpenter will be there from Crow Wing County Housing and Rural Development, and he's going to give us an overview of the program and the current Development Trust Fund, which has approximately $2 million in it. And then we have Great Western Bank. They're going to talk a little bit about FHA, VA financing. And the reason I asked them in is because HRA has their own requirements on housing. However, they're fairly restrictive because they really go to a specific market. FHA and VA are able to broaden that perspective. And so if we can find a way to build market rate / workforce housing, I think that's a good opportunity for FHA, VA. The only reason I say that is because when I started out my career in mortgage banking, I was known as the queen of FHA, so I know a lot about it. EDA finance, we want to let people know that there is opportunity for the city through EDA to bond for particular projects. And then Patrick is going to talk a little bit about the roads, sewers, septic, telecommunications, and water, which is our infrastructure. And so I can't tell you what the next steps are because we want this to be a very interactive. We want this to be a larger perspective than what we've seen in the past on how contractors, builders, and workers provide housing for our community. So we're really excited about it. And if you know of any contractor or builder that you think should be invited, just let me know. Just let me know. So that being said, as I listen to the conversation tonight, we're all always concerned about taxing our residents and our non-residents. And so with that, and I'll go back a step, because when I had set this up and put it on the agenda for April 5th, it was on the books. And then we got a notice, or you got a notice, that there was going to be another, how do I want to put it, other project that came up on that same day. And so I had to move my location to the gathering on County Road 3, which I was very happy to do because I wanted to give it to a local business anyway. But in this notice, there's going to be an attorney involved. And my thought was, as I've been sitting in the audience, how many times have we had attorneys or negotiators that we've had to pay for out of our budget and as a taxpayer? And I think it would be interesting to know what the fees have been for attorneys over the past couple years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, compared to other former mayor and council people. And it's a rhetorical question. And so I don't know. But when we think of doing the budget, we're very conscientious about that. But I also want to know, how do we match our legal fees with what's done in the past? And Mike, maybe that's something you already have in your books. I don't know if it would be open to the public, but it would be an interesting comparison. So that's it.
So
Thank you.
Patty, that's not in any way related to the symposium?
No,
okay.
no.
All right.
Separate issue.
Okay.
It came to my mind when I had to change the
venue
place. Yeah.
So
Which I was very happy to do.
April 5th, Patty, what are the times of it?
11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Yes, I think so too.
Thanks, Patty.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you, Patty.
And thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay, public safety. Shar, it says city clerk there. Are you gonna take this?
Do you want me to take
I
that,
just
Shar?
typed that memo, or Chip can, it's his fire contract.
Okay, I can talk about them if you want. What you have in front of you is the 2023 to 2024 fire service contracts. And we provide fire service for Manhattan Beach and Fairfield Township. And the way the calculation works is the fee that we charge those two, Manhattan Beach and Fairfield Township, is based on the tax capacity. And we charge them 3.5% of their tax capacity, and that's what they pay for fire service for our fire department. Pretty simple, straightforward.
I'll make a motion to approve the fire service contracts with Manhattan Beach and Fairfield Township for 2023-24 at the 3.5% tax capacity.
This is just a normal thing, right?
Yeah, just normal.
I'll second it.
Now we vote.
Little discussion. Anybody have anything?
Is there anyone here to speak
Well,
to that?
Paul's up next in it. Paul, you want to come up and talk to it now before we vote? He's just listed down on the thing.
Yeah, the other items 1, 2, and 3 that you have on there, item 1 is the summary of the fire district and tax capacity amounts, and you've got a draft of each contract, which is just the same as prior years, and then the numbers have just changed to reflect current data.
Good evening, Mr. Allen.
Mr. Mayor Nevin, council members, staff, attorney persons. I didn't come here to discuss rental properties.
Good.
Rental properties.
Are you sure?
Do you have anything for rent?
We don't allow it. Anyway, what I'm here about is on page 2 of the fire contract with us. There must be some mistake at that 3.5% of the tax capacity. That's given us a 35% increase in fire charges.
Isn't that what it's always done off the tax?
Can you
capacity?
explain why it's 3.5%?
Isn't that what it's always been?
No.
It's just the tax
When we started
capacity.
out, I believe it was 2.8
Oh. Well, the cost
of the
living
tax
is,
capacity, but you see where the tax capacity has gone, and it's very, very high. Now, I took the liberty of contacting some other communities, and if you want to look at this from the city of Emily. There you go. Is that better? Okay. This is from last year, but if you notice, their fire budget is $105,000. They're covering.
It says 3.5%.
Thank you. The city of Emily is covering part of Fairfield Township. Cross Lake is also covering some sections of Fairfield Township. I believe that's out in by the O'Brien Lake area. And then they're covering all of Little Pine. And if you notice what their charges are, and they had it in red, so I had, when I got the email, so I had to write the numbers in. Their charges last year for Fairfield Township was $3,499.15. Little Pine was $2,090.44. Ross Lake, and I don't know if Aiken took over part of that or not, was a different story. I checked your department. You know what you budgeted for your fire department here in the city of Cross Lake? 1.2 million. Ideal for their fire department is around 200,000. I verified that today with Craig Wallace, which is the chief and also is the clerk treasurer for Ideal Township. We think that this is just absorbent. You know, like you guys, we're responsible for the purse strings of the city. Unfortunately, we have to set our budget in August. This week, the townships have to set their budget for 2024. It's all wrong.
Did you go to 50 Lakes and do you have coverage with
They're
that?
not covering, they don't cover anybody.
They don't.
No. But I could certainly get from Karen Stern, the clerk treasurer over there, I could most certainly get what their budget is for their fire department. But, you know, we had 6 months last year where you couldn't barely cover the north part of Cross Lake, say nothing about us, because of the road construction. I know when the villa's burnt, your city billed the insurance company $45,000 to fight that fire. And I'm looking at the contract, and if your costs have gone up, why are you still charging $350 for the first hour, and any portion of thereafter that the Cross Lake Fire Department spends responding to a fire call, $300. In addition, you charge $100 a gallon for foam. Now, that's been the same for years. So why would that rate not go up? And yet your assessment of us for what? The privilege of covering us? You know, I looked last year, we had, from the report, it said that we had one grass fire. Well, it wasn't us, it was in Timothy Township, so there were 0 fires last year.
Yeah. I don't know how to respond to it. Chip, do you want to respond to it?
Yeah.
Just so you know, when we compare fire departments, you have to compare the services that are, like 50 Lakes runs 9 calls a year. Emily runs maybe 15. Emily doesn't run medical calls. Ideal's budget does not include their capital outlay. So Ideal is buying another truck. So our budget's what, 320, 330?
But yet they have medical equipment, and they have people from 50 Lakes that do go out.
And when you talk about Fairfield Township, Fairfield, we cover their most populated area in Fairfield Township.
Yeah, you can see that on the tax assessment.
Yes, and we run a lot of calls over there. Double or triple what you have. I understand because it went from 13 to 18.
13 to 18,000.
Everybody's taxes went up like that, so that's normal. But to go back to your comment on billing for the villas, we never billed anybody for the villas fire. Nobody in any department that was there billed anybody for that. So I don't know where you got that from.
Then how did the fire department get paid for the call?
We did not get paid for the call. The city absorbed that money that they just paid their, we don't.
Because that's what I had gotten from American Family Insurance, said that they paid $45,000 for the.
Well, they're lying, because I would submit a bill to Char, we never billed anybody. And I never billed Manhattan Beach for the time we were there.
It's just
I've never billed anybody for that. We don't bill.
Well,
So,
neither.
I don't want that, I want to make that clear, the comment to everybody on note. We did not bill for the Manhattan Beach Villas fire, anybody, just so you know.
Well, then why do you have these charges per hour in there?
I don't know, that's a city thing. I'm not in charge of this contract, but we've never billed anybody for anything in our townships.
Well, why are these charges in the contract then, if you're not billing somebody?
I don't know.
We can go back and bill for one.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Well, you just voted to accept, I'm here to advise you that you can rescind that motion for us and reduce it.
I understand that, Paul, but the other side is the cost of doing business is going up, you know, and that's part of my perception of it. So yours was 13, now it's 18. It went up $5,000.
Yeah.
And it's fire and medical services what we're providing you, right? And that, how long ago did that change?
What do you mean?
How long have we been covering Manhattan Beach with fire and medical?
That's not true. Pine River covered by, Manhattan Beach from years ago.
Okay, but for a long time we have been.
We negotiated.
Since the late 90s, we've been covering them.
Yes.
For fire and medical, both?
Right.
Okay.
And it was when we negotiated that contract, actually drafted this contract. I had many, many hours in on it. And I was trying to think who the attorney was here at the time, but anyway, we worked out that contract. But if you're not going to change your mind on this, I guess I got to submit this. You won't see us next year.
Yeah, okay.
So you may want to factor that into your budget.
All righty.
May I say something?
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, Allen, I know Ideal Corners will not cover your area, and either will 50, but I'm just asking, have you talked to your citizens that live in the city of Manhattan Beach? Because if Cross Lake is not covering your area, their insurance is going to go up because their ISO rating is going to go to a 9. So all the people that live there, their insurance is going to go up for fire.
Well, I'm not so sure you're correct with Ideal,
Well, that's what
because I just had a conversation with them.
Okay. Well, I'm just making that-
I've got, the fire station in
Even if
Timothy
it's
is
still-
3.5 miles from me. It's further to here. To the border, it's questionable on distance, and you take the ISO rating as your ability to deliver water is a big thing. Well,
Paul, I hear you. But you can see what we're faced with here with costs going up, and I mean, it's crazy. So
well, we're going to have to do like you do now.
Yeah.
Step out of our budget,
Well,
you know?
we are well accustomed to doing that around here, that's for sure.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Where am I?
Need to vote on your motion.
Can I just ask, have we always had this hourly rate in the contract? This is
Yes.
new?
This is not new. It's always been in there.
So in the discussion part of it, why is it in there if we don't do it?
I guess it's a choice of the chief or department to use that if they feel it's necessary, if it's something above and beyond, I don't know, but.
Let's just leave it there as an option.
Yep.
Okay.
I think if it's in the contract, you should be billing for it, otherwise take it out.
But like Manhattan Beach, I mean, that's $300 an hour for the whole department, I mean, for everything? Each truck.
Per hour.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we could have billed 50 grand for the bills.
yeah.
But we didn't.
And that goes to the insurance company, not the city, right? I mean,
The city, then they have a claim.
oh, it's funny where Paul got the $45,000
No idea where we got that.
figure, because it's close to probably what it would have been.
I move we approve the contract.
I second.
We already have a motion and a second. We just need a vote.
So are we going to talk about that $300 an hour? Should you charge that, or should we get rid of that? Leave it there at your discretion?
Just in case.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor. Yeah. Sure.
I just wanted to, one thing, Marcia, the hours last month was writing the ordinance that you all were talking about. I have the ordinance, short-term rental ordinance.
Yes?
I spent a lot of time on that, just so you know. That
I
was
didn't
also.
say you didn't.
I'm just saying
Why
that's
are
part of
you-
those hours that you were asking about, what the 142 hours were. That was also in there. And then also, I just have a question for Mr. Mayor. We had a meeting, and I think, Mrs. Farter, you were there. We talked about the St. Patrick's Day pay for the firefighters. Do you recall that conversation?
I don't remember the details of it, but.
Something about maybe getting paid double time or time and a half for working on St. Patrick's Day parade. So I just wanted to follow up on that.
And that was put forward by the committee?
No, that was me,
Just a
us three
conversation.
talking.
Was I in the conversation?
You're the one that made the statement. We were at the fire station in the training room saying that all of us work St. Patrick's Day every single year. We never get to enjoy it. We work from 8 a.m. till 6 o'clock at night without our families and everything else. And you said, well, maybe we should pay you all double time for that, working all those hours. So I'm just bringing it up again.
I hate to pull you, I don't recall that. I recall talking
Okay,
about
that's
yours.
what I thought, but just.
So
asking
right
the
now,
question.
they're paid normal time.
They're gonna get paid $25 because it's gonna be a call, not a training. It's gonna be
$25 an hour they're getting.
$25 an hour
Yeah.
for our service on Saturday. But we don't ever get holiday pay or extra pay at night, but we'll be there St. Patrick's Day. So I just wanted to bring it up.
Point taken. Come on up, Patrick. What do you got for us?
Well,
Or you
the good
gonna put-
news is that our primaries, or our clarifiers are up and running. Everything seems to be good there. They're gonna finish the computerization on Thursday or Friday barring the snowstorm coming in. Otherwise, we'll be out in the plow trucks and we're gonna have to make them wait. Casper, we'll let Phil talk to you about. The Crow Wing County, we're gonna seal coat Bonnie Lakes out there. That's, I do believe it was a little over 100,000 to seal coat it and restripe it and everything. And then I had a deal about, with Phil, they were talking about a GIS to build a web page so we can find all our manholes. Oh, that one isn't, all right. That's a separate one. I'd like to have you guys vote on it. I think it was under 10,000, wasn't it, Phil? What, ain't on this one? All right. Oh, then we ain't gonna worry about that one tonight then.
I thought we were gonna do that with John Colston and Ted Strand 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, there was a start on that then.
Did they
And
start it?
It got shut down, didn't it, Mike?
Do you have money in the budget for that, for this year?
Yeah, it should be, but we will have to, we'll do it through Public Works first and then bring it to you guys.
So we're not gonna talk about that tonight?
No.
Okay.
I jumped the gun on that one. And then, Jackson, I hear you rode in our plow truck.
I did, 4 hours on Sunday. 4 hours on Sunday. You guys do a good job. It was very educational. I don't want time and a half, no.
Jackson, did you hit any mailboxes?
It's offered to anyone else.
Did we hit any mailboxes? No, we did not.
Good job.
But it is interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's very
And there's a
interesting.
lot of things going on and
There's a
vehicles
ton of
gotta
stuff
dodge
going on,
and-
constantly switching levers and the whole works.
Yep, yep.
No trees, nothing. We didn't hit a single thing.
Can I ask who you
No
were
cars, nothing. I was with Seth.
Okay, so let's get back to Pat's
It was
agenda.
very educational.
No, you've got a pay application from Rice Lake Construction Group for the clarifier improvements, and you need a council action and a motion to approve that, is what Pat's asking for.
Yeah.
Are they done with it?
Yeah, everything but the computerization end of it.
That, if the weather permits, you're gonna get that done?
Yep, and then they have to come back for some more training later, but
Whoops. There's retainage after this application,
Yes,
right?
there is.
There's 20,000 something. I'll make a motion that we approve the contractor's application for payment number 6 in the amount of $23,351.95 to for the Cross Lake clarifiers to Rice Lake construction.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is that it for you, Patrick?
Well, you'll need to do the same thing with item B on his list,
This one.
and that's the pay application number 6 from Casper Construction.
So yeah, before you pay application 6, really that's amounts to the change orders you approved last month. And also we reduced the retainage from 5% by contract to 2.2%, which is $49,467. We arrived at that number. That equals about 200% of what we think the cost is to finish the punch list, which statute allows us to keep. So we're recommending approval of payment number 6 in the amount of $118,328.71.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Then we have C, the seal coating project you guys got to vote on too.
So essentially, the county asked you to participate. You said you would. We gave us a number of segments. We estimated a budgetary number, knowing you put about 100,000. I think we estimated it to be about 109,000 based on their cost from last year. I think they're estimating a little bit more than that, but they're bidding it. I don't even think they have their bids yet, right? It's out for bid. So this is the formal agreement that you are agreeing to go forward with the county on this. And then actual bid numbers will come in yet.
And the 7 streets we're going to,
Yeah, on the segments, Bonnie Lakes Road,
Over
Sandpoint,
here too.
and the roads that were done last year.
Bonnie Lakes is this one, I believe.
So this is formalizing your agreement with the county to stay in the game.
I move we approve the
Yeah,
agreement and
that's all.
sign it.
I second.
This was looking under Cross Lake over here.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Who made
Motion carries.
the motion?
Final item that relates to me is the, for some time, there's been discussion about what are we going to do next for road improvements. Finally, we put together a proposal and an approach to the Public Works Committee about how we could go and pick up the plans that were done in the past. The CIP was done in 2018, and maybe come up with another plan or polish that one up, however you want to do it, and try and provide a roadmap, if you will, for the city to follow going forward for doing road improvements. So we put together this approach. The discussion in general at the Public Works was actually kind of between, yeah, we need to do something, but are we throwing money at something if it's not going to be followed? And I guess I'm summarizing the comments, but in the end, their recommendation was to actually go forward with a plan to do a road improvement plan. They thought that it made sense to add the optional option in here of actually doing a field review of pavements again at $7,500. So just to give you a little background on that, in 2018, Bolton and Mink did all the pavement rating out in the city. And we included that as exists in our database that was developed and used by the city to create the capital improvement plan for 2018. So it's 2023. We're 5 years later. So the point that was being raised, well, we could take the information from 2018 and we could say all the pavements got worse by 1 or 2 rating points. Or we could go back out in the roads that we believe still have some pavement life and we could re-rate them, because the ratings help us establish what we do as a treatment for the improvement. A higher number means we do seal coats. A middle number means we do overlays. A low number means we have to rebuild the road because there's no pavement life left there. So the committee was in favor of that. The next optional item was to take a period of time after we've kind of ironed out what we think that plan is through the Public Works Committee, give the public an opportunity to make comment, review, make comment, if you will. The Public Works Committee did not want to include that in there, so that $2,500 is not additive in this. So the proposal before you is, do you want to do a road plan? And if so, we're estimating that the fee will be about 12, 2, and 7, $19,700, not to exceed.
And will that road plan be with photos and what we saw last time? So that 5 years from now, we can go back
Yeah.
and say, do we want to do this again compared to? I mean, is that what you're proposing?
Right. And we're proposing a different, so there's.
Maybe, but there'll be documentation.
Right, there'll be documentation, and you'll come out of it. So there are some steps in here, and we're trying to wrap our arms around it. The determination of, for example, we came into this not involved in development of the capital improvement plan. And I know it's late, and I don't want to keep you here long. But we just finished doing a plan that was prepared, and we're not, in some cases, we don't know why the city chose the roads it did. For example, you spent money on a road that served 13 parcels. It went to nowhere. And that doesn't mean the road doesn't need to be done. You did another road that had more parcels, but they end in cul-de-sacs. Birch Narrows got the most bang for the buck, if you will, because it had a lot more parcels on it. You're not a traditional lot and block city. You have roads that go off everywhere. But we don't see, and I guess raise the question with the committee, where's the putting the dollars towards the roads that affect the most people or that are kind of your collector or heavily used ones? Or in the city, get out to the most parcels so that you're getting the most benefit. So we thought of the idea of trying to count parcels and do road connectivity in this as well, and engage the Public Works Committee and say, why are we doing this road? Or is this the road we're going to do? And then get that to the council. So maybe there's some buy-in going forward versus questioning why we're doing it.
Part of that conversation was thoroughfare roads, and West Shore
Right.
Drive was talked about. That's
Right.
kind of a primary road.
Primary road, let's try and salvage what pavement values there instead of having it get to the point where you can't just do that. You got to rebuild the whole thing.
Does this estimate include doing all of the roads?
All of the roads that weren't already rated as having no pavement life left. So probably 75% of them.
So you're going to do Big Pine Trail, for example. That's a dead-end road.
Yeah, we would do them if if there were roads that were already looked at and thought to be kind of broken up and not being able to overlay.
Because part of that
and stuff like
conversation was, let's wait till the people petition the city to get
Correct.
the road done. And so I'm just saying, is some of this money getting spent on some of those roads that we would let them petition to do?
You might go out, not as of 2018, but to give you an idea, anything that was rated as a 4, 3, 2, or 1 would have no pavement life left. You would want to either mill that up or just remove it completely and put new blacktop down, a new base. Anything that was a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 had life left in it, meaning you could seal coat it, micro seal it, overlay it, something like that are less costly treatments. That was in 2018. Conceivably, if you had roads that were 5s, we're 5 years later, and if you've driven on any of the county roads, you lose your axle on some of the areas where we're having whole areas of blacktop pop out because of our winter. So, yeah, we could be doing these roads that we couldn't, that in 2018 were 5 or 6. We might go out there and review it and go, well, that thing is really beat up. That's a 4, that's a 3. And then our recommendation is going to be, yeah, that's a complete rebuild. There's nothing to salvage in that pavement.
Right, but the thing that I don't want to do, Phil, is spend a lot of money on you going out engineering a road that we're going to probably wait until the people petition to do that road.
Right.
Like Big Pine Trail.
There's no engineering of plans or anything here. This is helping you get onto a path of where you should put your dollars, honestly.
What if we did this in 2018? Can't we just go off the old survey?
Is the update for the pavement rating, is that because we didn't follow the plan?
It probably cost us 50,000.
It's because 5 years have happened and you didn't get as much done as you anticipated. There's whole segments that have good life. They might have been on that, kind of that border of a 5 or a 6 rating, and what are they today?
After the 2018 step, they don't need to dump.
Well, they might have tripped outside of being a low-cost solution to a more high-cost solution. It might put roads into segments where you aren't going to put low dollars at them. You're going to wait for people to petition to have the road improved, if that ends up being your policy.
So when you do this update, I mean, do you include like recommendations for the timing, like, is it like
Exactly.
a structured plan of?
That's where the Public Works and the council are really going to come in, because you're going to have to help figure out what your priority is. Now, again, my personal priority isn't a few parcels that had dead ends. It's going to be, we should be thinking of which roads are heavily used, because they're going to continue to get heavily used. And then from there, you're going to have to figure out where, maybe it's a dead end, but it serves 110 parcels versus a dead end that serves 20.
So you don't have a list of roads that are included in this thing? You don't have a list of roads? I thought you and Patrick were going to go out and drive around and come up with a list of roads that.
No, I don't
you thought-
have a list of roads. I have the list from 2018, every road in the city that's paved. And I'm
Right.
telling you that I think at that time, 25% of them were already beyond, there's no reason to review them again, because they were already beyond any type of
They haven't
surface repair.
improved.
Yeah, none of the roads have gotten better, except the ones the cities have done.
Yeah.
That sounds like you answered your own question.
You understand, I just don't want to pay it, like Big Pine Trail, we're going to wait till they come to us and say we need to pave this road. I mean, that's, and they've agreed to
Okay,
that.
so what road are you gonna do next year? Which road are you gonna do the year after that? How are you
Well-
gonna spend your money on roads?
Yeah, that's what you got to identify.
That's
You're
what
right.
we're trying to
I
do.
think Schaefer
So-
Road is a good one that you got to look, take a
Okay.
close look at. Seal coating, West Shore Drive.
The roads
Talked
that
about
are
that one.
rated 5 and lower, or.
4 and
less-
lower?
Yeah. Can you go to the roads 5 and put them, move them down then? Or move them closer to,
We could.
is that what you're going to do? Is just, you're not going to go out and check, you're just going to move them
Well,
to that rating?
some of those
To lower.
ratings, that's gonna be a judgment call.
Because they're no longer 5.
Right. I have a suspicion that anything that's a 5 is no longer a 5. But the whole point is to try and identify the roads that we can make sense of where we should spend our dollars, and then make the dollars go as far as they can with the smaller cost treatments.
We definitely need a plan. We have a assigned balance of over 260,000 in roads. Just wondered if we could use some of that for engineering. Is that possible, Mike?
We have not yet made it all the way through the fund balances on that, so those numbers will change when I push the audit adjustments through there.
We should have 25,000 if we have 260 in there now, right? Or not?
Again,
No?
we have not adjusted those
Okay,
balances.
you're not. Okay.
And one thing I would appreciate, Marcia, is when you
What?
do have those questions, if you could get those to me ahead of time.
Well, this just
Yeah.
came up. I didn't have a clue that we were going to be looking at this, and
Well, it was
it's
on
on
the
the
agenda.
balance sheet that you sent out us, the
Which I
260,000.
also
I don't think
stated
I'm out of
was not
line for
adjusted.
asking if we could use the assigned balance.
And yes,
Tom-
we can. If there's money in there, we can use it.
Tom, do you recommend that we do the whole thing here? I don't know. That's,
That was the recommendation from the Public Works Committee,
Minus the public input.
minus the public input. And we had a lot of debate on that, and the whole point was, we need to have a plan, and then to give the council an opportunity to determine whether or not they want to follow it.
Tom Swenson, Chairman of the Public Works Commission. We had a lively discussion, and it went from, why are we spending money? Is it just going to be another plan that sits on the shelf and doesn't get followed? And then as the discussion went on and we started actually talking about roads and the feeder roads and, trying to save as much as we can of the roads we can. Then the discussion sort of turned to, we really need a plan where we've got the engineering or the engineer out there looking at the roads, rating them, and then we come up with a plan to prioritize. And I can tell you, my plan is, if I stay on the commission, is that I'm gonna be pushing the council, because what's happened in the past, you do these plans and it comes budget time, and it happened last year in the budget. Originally, we had, I don't know what it was, 250,000 that we were gonna set aside to start building funds for future road projects, and then at the end, well, how about if we bring that down to 100,000? Well, I'm glad we did that, so at least we started the process of, you know, we're setting money aside, but a lot of this is gonna have to be bonded. But we can't keep putting off these roads, because they're deteriorating to a point where if we don't do something in the next few years, then we're into the reconstruction on all of them. But so the final motion was to recommend we do the full study, so we have accurate information and a game plan to move forward with on a capital plan for the next, I don't know, 5 or 10 years based on these ratings. But, you know, I think the commission is gonna push to, you know, once this plan is developed, we gotta stick to it and keep moving on these roads, because these are tough winters and they keep getting chewed up.
Is it ignorant to go off the old plan, Tom? The roads that were 4s and 3s, wouldn't that be kind of maybe common sense to?
We actually talked about that, because that was one member, that's exactly what he wanted to do. Why spend this money? Why don't we just lower everything one point and go from there? And I brought up, and actually my road needs to be looked at. I'm on Sandpoint, which is one of them that's supposed to be seal coated.
Yeah.
And it was rated, I think it was rated an 8, wasn't it? On that plan. And I said, I take my dog on a walk down the road every day, and all that's on the top is aggregate. The bituminous is gone. So at that point, you know, they started thinking, wow, you know, if an 8 went to more like a 5, you know, we can't just, you know, lower everything one number. And at that point, then the commission was more, let's spend the money, have the engineers look at it, come up with a game plan, and then go from there, where we have a priority list of how to move forward.
The original rating that was done is not rocket science. It was, and we chose it with the idea, in a perfect world, if you had enough staff, just by driving these roads from your normal day-to-day operations, you would have a feel for where this road fits. But I don't think the staff could sit down and go through every one of these roads and say, man, I think that's this now. They probably could do some of them that they travel a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the whole point, is this is something that could be self, you know, you don't need to hire us to do it. The reason our costs are in there is because it's, you know, it'll take 4 days in the field to kind of just, we don't walk it, we windshield drive it, we track things down. You're basically paying us to relook at the roads.
So do you springboard off of the old plan, or are we going to start anew?
I'll springboard off that old plan. We have spreadsheets set up. We have an 18 rating, we'll have a 23 rating.
Then you'll just change the ratings on those
Move
plans
ratings.
that
We
are
have
on
some
there.
roads that actually
Or
popped up
roads.
to a 9 and a 10 because there were some roads that got done, there were roads that got seal coated, so.
Oh, yeah, then they're off them.
And then we assign unit costs to them, and, because based on the condition, we know what type of improvement can be done on them. And there will be a lot of roads that aren't, they have to be completely rebuilt.
I think we need the evaluation. We need to see what it is that we actually have, because it, like you said, it's been 5 years, and 5 years is a long time with a couple of these winters we've had, especially this one.
My only point, Phil, and you know it, is that these dead-end roads, if we wait till the people petition to do the road, it makes the assessment go a lot easier. They're willing to do it, they want to do it. And so to spend money on not those roads, let them come to us and do the traveled roads, the roads that we need to take care of. And I mean, I've always said that. I said that at the Public Works meeting. And
So do we have a number on the road? If there's only 10 on that road, we're not going to consider it until they petition us.
well, if it's a dead-end road and there's just 10 there, I would say
I
let them
mean,
come
we
to
should,
us.
we should know that.
See, what if I'm a homeowner and I live on a road that has the 12 parcels and my road is a 7 rating right now, and you could seal coat that road
Yeah, and
for
keep it.
$2.50 a square yard and give me 7 to 10 more years until it happens again, I'm really ticked at you. You're telling me, well, just wait.
Yeah,
'Cause
no,
then
that's right.
Then my approach
That's
is,
right.
I'm going to sell this son of a gun before I
Get the assessment.
get the road done.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's value in trying to have a preservation plan, and then you pick and choose your big rebuilds, and it can be public-driven.
Yeah. So make a motion to approve the whole thing, $20,000, huh?
Minus the 2,500 for the,
Well, so it ends up being the 12,2 plus 7,500.
19.7.
yeah.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor?
We do, yeah, I do. We do have that engineering for the county, the seal coating, too. That we only budget 100,000 in the budget for,
It's 122?
and it's 122. Just
That's
But
the
you don't know
estimate.
yet.
We
That's
don't
an
have-
estimate, Marcia.
Yeah.
It actually could be bid competitively and come in at
Oh,
your
come in
budget.
lower.
Yeah.
Oh, so we
And
don't have
actually,
to
when-
really worry about it until it's bid. Okay.
Right, and when
All right.
we threw a number together on this, I used $2.50 a square yard and that actually was based on last year where the county threw in their engineering as well. That was kind of like a total.
Okay. Just saying.
So we have a motion and a second to approve, and it's the 12,500 and the 7,500, or 12,
12,2, yep.
yeah. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. No, we got public forum.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think these people are hanging around just to listen to us, are you? So our last public forum, action may or may not be taken on issues raised. If council needs more time, they'll take it. Anybody have anything?
I have a question.
Sir, come on up.
It's for, okay, my name is Rebecca Wharton. I'm at 13402 Hidden Valley Road. I have a question for you. You said storm damage. My property was damaged in those 3 storms you mentioned, and you're getting reimbursement. What's the reimbursement for?
The reimbursement is for city staff picking trees, debris, and things up off of the right-of-way.
So it's for work that the city did?
It's for work that the city did. We don't touch homeowners' properties, so if a tree fell on your house, that's the homeowner's responsibility. But if the tree's in the ditch in our right-of-way, Pat's staff will come and pick it up.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And
But
we've burned
it
a
has
lot
to
of
be declared a disaster area, right?
Correct, and they have been.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll get some reimbursement for that. We also spend quite a bit of time and effort burning brush from all the stuff people drop off. So that was really an interesting discussion with FEMA. They said, well, based on the trees you picked up, why do you have so much stuff to burn? And then once they got their arms around, we have 37 square miles and a lot of people bring their stuff in to burn, and we had 2 different sites, and Pat's guys and some of Chip's guys and some of TJ's staff were burning brush for quite a while, so.
Anybody else? Public forum is closed. Brad, nothing?
Brad?
Old business?
I make a motion to adjourn.
New business?
I have a question.
Okay.
Did we haven't discussed these, C6 and C7.
Oh,
They have not been approved.
What did you want to pull them for, Marcia?
Well, I have to use the bathroom. Come on. My question was, well, I wanted to go over the assigned balances, but that's not what happened. I wanted to, I'm sorry. I wanted to go over the assigned balances before it was sent to the auditors.